any other in the 70,000 grandstand seats sold out. Perhaps 25 to 30,000 more fans will be on the infield. It's a packed house for the final race of the PBG Kart World Series season, the Kart World Series 500, and you are on the grid. At 8:45 this morning, nearly 4 hours before the start of the race, the fans were filing into the California Speedway. All a part of our story today, and so are the championship positions. Alex Zanardi and Gilles de Ferran cannot be caught, but every other spot in the championship is up for grabs this weekend. We'll be back with more on the grid. Friday practice, Zanardi got involved in Patrick Carpentier. The rookie championship leaders crash. Carpentier too will not be driving this weekend. Zanardi hit a wheel that came off Carpentier's car and hit the wall. Later that same day, another savage trip into the wall, destroying 2 cars did Alex Zanardi. As a result, he is not cleared medically to drive this weekend, and our story begins there. With more on it, here's Gary Gerould.
And Bob, we'll have an opportunity to talk with Alex Zanardi, the 97 champion, at the head of our regular race coverage on ESPN at the top of the hour. Arie Luyendyk is going to end up as a replacement driver in Jimmy Vasser's backup car, keeping in mind that both of Zanardi's cars were destroyed. Arie was in Washington, D.C. all day Friday, got home late Friday night, got a phone call early Saturday morning from Chip Ganassi as he was drinking his coffee watching CNN. Arie had a private plane sent to pick him up a half hour later from Scottsdale, Arizona. He got here yesterday afternoon. They fitted him into the car. He had only 15 minutes after qualifying late in the day to try to get comfortable. In the 15 laps, he went 224.9 miles per hour. They worked overnight to make him more comfortable. This morning in the half-hour warm-up, he bumped the speed up to 235 miles per hour. Now, Luyendyk did not qualify. He'll start at the back of the pack, but certainly he's going to be a guy to keep an eye on. The 2-time Indy 500 champion driving a Ganassi car. Remember, he drove for Chip for a couple of seasons back in the early 90s. It should be very exciting. Hopefully.
E.J. Jones, 2-second Formula One World Championship in 1955. We'll be back.
Team Rahal and Della Penna, of course, their driver, Richie Hearn. Danny?
Well, Jan, I like those rumors, but how about this one? I think Robbie Gordon would like to stay where he is this weekend and drive for Carl Hogan Racing next year. But how about this one? Nigel Mansell returning to IndyCar with possibly Pat Patrick Racing, and he'd rekindle that friendship with Jim McGee, the team manager over there. Maybe even the Budweiser money going there. Bob?
Into a long offseason. For the first time in 17 years, open-wheeled superspeedway racing has returned to America's West Coast. A long season of competition is about to go into the books in a blaze of glory with a 500-mile race at a speedway that is pure California. Of rain and haze have given way to blue skies and typical California sunshine as a packed house at the gleaming California Speedway awaits the final race of the season. Welcome to the Kart World Series 500. Hello again, everybody. I'm Bob Varsha, along with former kart champion Danny Sullivan. Danny, I can't recall a weekend with more twists and turns. Our newly crowned champion, Alex Zanardi, and our likely rookie titleist, Patrick Carpentier, will not drive due to practice crashes. Arie Luyendyk and Robbie Gordon return to the kart series. We have this beautiful new racetrack. Drivers are still finding their way around, and we've had eye-popping speeds. A 240-mile-an-hour pole for Mauricio Gugelmin. It's been wild.
It has been a while, Bob. This is incredible. 240 miles an hour, but everybody's jammed up there too. 239, 238, 237. They're all doing, and they're doing it consistently. after lap. This is going to be an incredibly fast 500-mile race, and what a pace. But let's not forget, it's the end of the season. Everybody's tired. They're going to end it with a 500-miler, and a lot of guys would like to go away with a great result, because let's bear in mind that they have that result for 5 months, and there's still a lot of championship points at stake, and they'd like to come away with a great result.
And here's the way they'll line up. Mauricio Gugelmin on pole, the only man in history to qualify for a race at over 240 miles an hour. He'll start next to Jimmy Vasser, fastest in the morning warm-up. On row 2 will be Brian Herta, who has led the last 4 races but has yet to win, and Scott Pruitt, who won in Australia this year. Row 3, Michel Jourdain Jr., a career-best qualifying effort for the young Mexican, and Greg Moore of Canada, who has also won this year. Row 4 will be Michael Andretti, who would like to end the season the way he began it, with a victory, and Mark Blundell, yet another winner on tour this year. Row 5 will be Raul Boesel and Bobby Rahal, who led at the US 500 this summer, and he has 2 500-mile victories. Row 6 will be Andre Ribeiro and Gilles de Ferrand, who has clinched 2nd place in the season point standings. Row 7 will be Robbie Gordon, replacing Rookie of the Year contender Dario Franchitti, who has had a falling out with his car owner Carl Hogan. Gordon will be next to Adrian Fernandez. On row 8 will be Parker Johnstone and Christian Fittipaldi. Row 9, Dennis Vitolo and Juan Fangio II. On row 10, the Penske teammates Paul Tracy and Al Unser Jr., who has the most 500-mile wins in today's field with 3. Row 11 will be P.J. Jones and Richie Hearn, back in his Lola chassis after crashing his new Swift on Friday. Row 12 will be Hiro Matsushita of Japan and Germany's Arndt Meyer. On row 13, Max Pappas and Walter Salas, who celebrates his 27th birthday today. He has an outside shot at the rookie title. And all alone on row 14, Arie Luyendyk, the 2-time Indianapolis 500 winner, substituting for season champion Alex Zanardi. Here's our race analysis. It's a 2-mile oval, very much like the Michigan track, but less steeply banked. 250 laps scheduled. A phenomenal pole speed by Mauricio Gugelmin, and pit stops every 31 to 35 laps. Our stories: speed, the fastest field in history; heat, the temperature hovering near 100 degrees, air temperature 130 degrees on the racetrack. The track itself is brand new, and the drivers are still looking for the optimum line. And the points battle, the top 2 positions are clinched. Every other position in the championship and a lot of bonus money is still at stake. Down to Gary Gerould.
The champion of the series, Alex Zanardi, is forced to watch. He's on a rooftop suite, anticipating the green. 2 horrendous crashes have sidelined you. How do you feel coming out of those crashes?
Well, I feel good. That's why I feel bad also, because I would like to be out there.
And the championship, fortunately for you, you don't have to worry about it. What a blessing that it was wrapped up at the last event.
Yeah, but you don't think about that. Obviously, I'm delighted to be the champion, but really, you know, that was another race. I would have liked to be out there for the sponsor target, for myself, for all the boys. But hey, we're pretty well represented from Jimmy Vasser and Arie Luyendyk, so I keep my finger crossed.
All right, thanks, Alex. Congratulations. Jan Binkas?
Well, Gary, 500 miles is always brutal on the equipment. Remember back to the US 500. There were 6 cars that were knocked out with a specific technical problem, and that was the Reynard gearbox. Reynard has added some cooling scoops. They have added some heat shields inside the gearbox between that and the turbo, and they are confident, even in this searing heat, that the gearbox will not today be a problem for the Reynard. Bob?
Well, we're about to find out. The last race of the year, 500 miles on a virgin racetrack that has produced absolutely heart-stopping speeds. The field now coming into 2x2 alignment. 70,000 grandstand seats sold out, perhaps 30,000 or more on the infield of this beautiful facility. Oval track racing is back to its roots in Southern California. From high overhead, there is a view of the track. The rail station to the right of your screen. And we have a problem. Juan Fangio, I believe, has a huge fire at the back of his Reynard.
Bob, one of his problems right there, he's got that, but with that smoke coming up, he couldn't see in his rearview mirrors to be able to just pull over and dive to the left-hand side.
Now he gets over. Fluid was burning out the back of that car. The yellow flag is waving. Oh, what a moment for Juan Fangio. His team, Dan Gurney's All-American Racers, are the home team. They're based in Santa Ana, California, not far from Fontana, where the California Speedway is located. And there is the man, Dan Gurney, who has seen so much frustration this year. The kart safety team is on the scene to extinguish the fire. Now, these laps will count. Down to Jan Binkas.
Well, as a Grand Marshal, this is the worst way you could possibly start. Do you know what happened?
No, we only see what you see, and that is big fire out of the back, and then it went out, so Juan's fine, and that's it. That's all we know at the moment.
Now you've got another Toyota, and you've had success in the past at 500 miles, but why so soon? Any idea on the telemetry up here what could have gone wrong?
I haven't even had a chance to check with our engine people. I don't know if it's engine. I don't know if it's electrical or a fuel line. I really, I'll let you know as soon as I find out.
All right, good luck with the other car.
This is a replay, and you can see all of the fluid leaking out onto the racetrack. Whatever it was that was burning, it appears that he ran out of it.
And we saw that shot earlier. Did you see he's just driving along, and next thing you know, it just burst into flames, which tells me that he had some kind of a line come away or something that just started spraying it there. Dumped everything that looks like an oil possibly on there. An oil line came and threw everything on there. You see right out on this side, right in there. See all that oil? Couldn't get any further over there, but that streak right down through there, see all that line right there, and that is some kind of a fluid. See him laying down the oil dry. Now that's like a sandy material that just sucks the oil up so that you'll have a good clean racetrack.
Here's a look at our weather conditions. 99 degrees, and it feels a lot harder down in the pit lane. The track temperature 130 degrees. And on a cloudless day, the sun is going to make it even hotter. We do have a slight breeze blowing, and it will be blowing behind the drivers as they make their way across the start-finish line. As you see Fangio's car being towed away. Best finish of the year for Juan Fangio, a 10th. He desperately wanted to run well here on his new home track in the heart of Toyota's corporate country, but it appears it will not happen for him. His teammate P.J. Jones is still out there. Once again, the race is underway. One lap is complete. We'll be back with more from the California Speedway in just a moment. To the California Speedway, 10 laps in the books, all of them run under yellow, and there is the scene of our most recent drama. Arie Luyendyk stopped to top up his car, and a fire broke out. Gary Gerould.
Yeah, Bob, it's one of those deals with the methanol. You can't tell if it's ignited or not. One of the fuelers immediately jumped back from the wall. We saw what we thought was methanol splashing in the air. Then the water came from all directions as teams rushed to help out. He appears to be just fine. Safety officials are here checking him out. A lot of encouragement. They'll continue to examine him, but some unexpected drama on what was going to be a routine top-off of fuel.
Arie Luyendyk not the only man to take advantage of these last moments before we go green to top up the tank. Walter Salas, Max Pappas also stopped, as did Arndt Meyer. And now once again on lap 11, the field lines up side by side in preparation for the green flag. Now the reason that we went under yellow was because of a fire that broke out on Juan Fangio's car. Jan Bikus.
I had a chance to speak with him when he was on his way back to the pits. He said it lost oil pressure, then the engine blew up. He did get hot, but he hit the fire extinguisher and everything was okay. And to add to the list of people who pitted, Al Unser Jr. has just been in and out.
So add Al Unser Jr. to the list of cars trying to get a leg up on the pit stop sequence. And now we come up to speed, and these cars do what they were meant to do here at the California Speedway. Up to 230 plus miles an hour as we go green for the first time. Residual speedy dry on the track creates a haze as the cars flash through it. One of the fastest parts of this tri-oval.
The way they just ran over that, though, it won't last for more than a lap or two.
Mauricio Gugelmin, the pole sitter, at 240.9 miles an hour. The only man ever to do that is out front with Jimmy Vasser, wearing the number 1 of the champion for the last time in 1997.
Very steady hands down through there. The car wasn't moving, but don't forget on the full tanks, they're getting a feel for this thing. Jimmy wants to hold on to Big Mo and not put too much pressure on the engine.
Ryan Herta trying to get in the fight. We have a crash down in turn 4. It's one of the Penske cars. That's Paul Tracy's car, number 3. Tracy's hard luck continues. It's been so tough for the man who won 3 straight races at one point this year, was the points leader for months, and then came a string of races in which Paul could hardly complete a lap. And now it appears it has happened again.
He looks like he was all by himself up there.
That's down in turn 3 and 4, where we've seen virtually all of our crashes thus far this weekend. Watch the right part of your screen. Here he is.
Right there. You just see Paul. He was all by himself, but the car just got a little loose on him. I don't know if he had gotten a little bit of that speedy drive, whatever the case was, but just stepped out on him.
Heavy damage to the race car. 6th DNF for Paul Tracy. Virtually all of them coming in the second half of the season. There you see Paul walking back. Maybe stunned a little bit from a massive impact. Let's look at it again.
Right here, right there, you just see the back end of the car. Nobody's in front of him. Nobody was behind him. And the car just got away on him.
Alex Zanardi's crash at that same point of the racetrack on Friday afternoon registered 88 Gs on impact. Fortunately, a very brief impact. You see Roger Penske sees one of his cars go out. 5th consecutive DNF for Paul Tracy at the end of 1977. Not the way he wanted to go into that 5-month off season we talked about, Danny.
No, and particularly the fact that he's sitting 4th in the championship. And I know I talked to him last night. He'd really like to stay 4th. This doesn't help him.
Jimmy Vasser is 3rd in the championship, and that's the reason a lot of us think Arie Luyendyk is here to help protect that position for the Ganassi Racing team. We'll be back with more from the California Speedway. A fire and an oil dump from the car of Juan Fangio, and then a massive crash for Paul Tracy as you watch Max Pappas pull his Arciero Wells MCI sponsored Reynard into the pits. Al Unser Jr. and Art Meyer have also made secondary pit stops as we prepare to go green.
Of course, everybody at home might be wondering why they do this. They're at the back of the field, so they might as well go ahead and fill the tank up, put as much fuel on board, and hopefully they'll get a long run under a green and take advantage when everybody else has to make a pit stop.
Now the safety car begins to draw away as we anticipate the green flag this time around. Mauricio Gugelmin remains on point. We have had 2 lead changes thus far as Gugelmin and his fellow front row starter Jimmy Vasser have exchanged the lead twice. Now the man who qualified at nearly 241 miles an hour brings up the revs and draws away from Jimmy Vasser. Now the field will try to close up as they head for the green flag. Single file across the line. And Michel Jourdain's challenging for 3rd place and goes around Bryan Herta to take it.
Nice move. He started 5th. He's up to 3rd.
On the backstretch, on board with Michael Andretti as he makes a bid to go around Herta. The Swift chassis. Michael made it a winner at the season opening Grand Prix of Miami. That car went to Richie Hearn in the Della Pena Ralph's Food for Less team this weekend for Hearn to use, but he crashed it on Friday. He is back in his Lola.
And let's not forget Michael Andretti at Michigan, the similar track where he started back in the field, moved right to the front, and was dominant until he had that failure in his car. And he felt that his car was as strong as it was at Michigan here at Fontana. Very steady hands.
Revs climbing to more than 14,000, even though the engines may be detuned slightly to go 500 miles.
A little movement in the wheel there as he goes through some of the grooves and a few bumps down there.
Now to the inside goes Michael. Underneath Jourdain for 3rd place.
Very, very intelligent move by Jourdain. It's a 500-mile race. Here's Michael Andretti Let's not fight just for that position right now. Let's get in behind him and see what we can learn.
There you see the laps led. Gugelmin from the pole, leading most under caution most of the way. Jimmy Vasser got his nose out front once. Greg Moore in the blue and white car, running in 7th place now, having gone around Scott Pruitt. Pruitt started 4th. He's now back in 8th. There's a look at Moore, the youngest winner in series history, picking up 2 in a row at Milwaukee and Detroit earlier this season. He too has had some tough luck lately. Ran just a few miles of the US 500 at Michigan at midsummer. Two cars out of the race. Tracy by a crash. Fangio due to a fire in the engine compartment. And now speeds for the last lap, topping 231 miles an hour.
Imagine that with 100-degree temperature, full tanks of fuel, and you're running an average of 231 miles an hour. This is going to be a fast race, and we're going to see some incredible lap times during the day.
Moore pulls up behind Mark Blundell, one of the Pac West cars. Blundell ran very strongly in practice up in the 238 range. Moore right up behind him, working the draft and then diving underneath into 3.
And those two guys are both in identical packages too, with a Reynard chassis, Mercedes power, and Firestone. Greg Moore moved up a little high there. He got in, probably got the air disturbed a little bit off of Mark's car. That sometimes moved the front end away, losing grip. Take him a second to recover. Close that gap back up.
It is a championship package. Real or mythical, the Reynard chassis wins the Constructors title this year. The engine honors go to Mercedes-Benz, the first open-wheel title for Mercedes-Benz since Juan Manuel Fangio won the Formula One World Championship back in 1955. There is no formal tire championship. If there were, I would guess Firestone would have won it. Working on a string of 10 in a row, he won every road and temporary circuit race this year. Moore past Mark Blundell now and into 6th place.
And you see Ribeiro pulling out there. Of course, what happened when they went in there side by side, Mark Blundell had to back off the throttle, and you just lose so much momentum when you're carrying that kind of speed around here.
Well, Ribeiro with Honda power just flew by. The bright yellow nose on the Reynard. Here is Jourdain and Herta, 4th and 5th. Stretch. Jourdain getting a little high, Herta down low.
I think Michel likes that line. He likes going there high.
Slower traffic ahead. That's Arndt Meyer.
We're going to see 3 abreast there.
Now this is something we're not sure they can do around this racetrack. The drivers say they themselves are not sure that they can go wheel to wheel until this track is rubbered in and cures a little more. Herta and Jourdain. Meanwhile, up front, Big Mo leads his 8th race of the year, coming off his first victory earlier at Vancouver. Stay with us. California Speedway in the Car World Series 500 to the left of your screen in red and white, Mauricio Gugelmin, who has led this race from pole. The ride on board, the car following him, his fellow front row starter, Jimmy Vasser.
Here Jimmy roll out of the throttle there, because see, Big Mo ran up on 2 cars. He wasn't sure what's going to go on. Remember, these guys have not raced at this track. They've done a lot of practice miles, but they want to get a feel of where they can go.
Oh, Vasser down low. Walter Salas in the all-white car. Max Pappas in the blue one. They are the traffic being worked here. Gugelmin gets through first. I thought Vasser had a chance to get him in traffic. Back on board with Michael Andretti in 3rd.
Who's moved up very well through the field.
These guys are running so close together. Whoever's waving that blue passing flag on the backstretch is going to have a very sore arm.
Imagine this, though. What we're seeing here is incredible racing. All this is taking place at between 230 and 240 miles an hour.
Michael Andretti down under Jimmy Vasser, side by side into 1. And Andretti just shoots away as Vasser has to lift. So the order is now Gugelmin, Andretti, Vassar, Jourdain, Ribeiro, Herta, Moore, Blundell, Pruitt, and DeFerrin, the top 10. Then Raul Boesel, Adrian Fernandez, Robbie Gordon in 13th, Bobby Rahal 14th, followed by Christian Fittipaldi, P.J. Jones, and Dennis Vitolo.
Now, Michael's running very well, but that move was set up by Jimmy being held up in traffic, and Michael just played it perfectly and got a run on him.
Look at the speeds at the line. The yellow arrows tell you who the quickest cars are. First, second, and third. Michael Andretti, quickest on that lap. Now Adrian Fernandez comes through with the fastest lap, dropping Andretti to second fastest. Raul Boesel moving along well, third fastest on that last lap.
A lot of that, though, is dictated by what's happening in traffic. If you're getting pulled down the straightaway by another car, that yanks you, that gives you that tow, you'll get a good speed. If you're held up in traffic, have to do a big lift, your time's going to drop off.
Nothing quite like the sight of open-wheel racing cars on a big super speedway oval. Jan Bikas has more on Bryan Herta.
Yes, he's dropping through the field somewhat, and the team says there's no problem with the car. They're trying to get Bryan Herta into a rhythm, that 500-mile rhythm that you want to run for the entire distance. Bobby Rahal, however, his teammate, his car is a little bit loose.
And word off the other end of the pitch, Jan, relating to Mark Blundell. We thought maybe there was a problem there. They say the car's not working that good in traffic, but they're taking a pretty conservative stance, knowing it's going to be a long, hot afternoon.
Laps complete at the Kart World Series 500. Mauricio Gugelmin on the lead. The last IndyCar Super Speedway event here in Southern California was the 31st of August in 1980 when Bobby Unser won from pole for Roger Penske, ironically, at Ontario Motor Speedway, the site of which is just a couple of miles down Route 10 from where we sit here at the California Speedway. Now it's a vacant lot covered with weeds, but the memories linger. Moving back in the field now. Michel Jourdain runs fourth. To the left of your screen, Bryan Herta in the black and white car is 8th. Gilles DeFerrin is 9th. Are you surprised to see DeFerrin running this far back?
I am a little bit, but I think that if it's typical Derek Walker, they will be working with that car all day long, trying to keep him right in there and hopefully be strong at the finish.
Earlier this weekend, Bryan Herta picked up a brand new Mercedes-Benz in the pole award ceremony honoring our 8 pole sitters this year. Big crash down in 3 and 4 once again. 2 more cars in the wall. And look at the debris. That's Arndt Meyer tossing debris out of the car. There's Hiro Matsushita down on the pit lane. Is that Arie Luyendyk's car? We believe that's Arie Luyendyk. Let's take another look. Oh, Meyer spun and collected the target car.
That little brief fire there is just a quick flash fire. Oh, and Arie got hit up in the wall, and then another, and then he came back up and hit him again, going into the wall. It looked to me like Arndt Meyer got way down below that white line and set the car off.
Let's get on board now. Watch and listen. That was an impact.
That was a really big impact, and you can of course see it from the debris that's out there on the track.
Arie Luyendyk
back here on your screen right there is Arndt Meyer. Spins the car. Arie Luyendyk at the top of your screen right there. Tries to go around him. Arndt Meyer spins. Now Arie hits the wall, and then he comes back and gets another little wallop there from Arndt Meyer. Of course, at that stage, you are totally a passenger in the car. There is nothing that you can do.
Jimmy Vassar's crew waiting in the pit lane. Under a yellow, 41 laps complete. Now the pit strategies are are changing constantly with all this early yellow. The pits are currently closed.
But Bob, the reason that you may see a lot of people come onto pit road is because of the new speed limit. It's 60 miles per hour. So many of the team managers said even if they have a half a tank of fuel, they will pit every time there's a caution flag, because under green flag conditions, you lose a tremendous amount of time down here on pit road.
All right, thank you, Jan. Among the cars on the track, Scott Pruitt started 4th, is now running 12th. Andre Ribeiro's going in the other direction. He started 11th. He is up to 5th. We'll take a break and return for more from the California Speedway. We're under the yellow once again. Spun and collected Arie Luyendyk. Mauricio Gugelmin.
Sorry, I was just going to tell you that he was out in 12.72 seconds. Hopefully he can hang on to that 5th spot. They put Wing in the front of the car.
Michael Andretti got out ahead of Mauricio Gugelmin and Jimmy Vasser.
And Bob, he did a very clever thing in the pits, because the 60-mile-an-hour speed limit doesn't start until right before the first pit. So what he did is Big Mo slowed down when he got to the pit wall, which is a couple hundred yards away, and Michael passed him in the pit lane, which he can do, and took advantage there, then slowed down to the 60 miles an hour, but he'd already passed him.
That is preparation. Down to Jan Bikus.
Paul Tracy is back now on pit road. Thankfully, you were able to walk away from your car. Paul, do you know why it stepped out?
I mean, the car was just right from the start of the race, was really loose, and it's a condition that we haven't had all weekend, and you know, it's frustrating for the whole Marlboro crew. We thought we had a good chance today to run well, but obviously with the heat, we changed the setup quite a lot this morning, and I guess kind of stepped over the boundary a little bit in the heat. So, you know, it's frustrating for the crew, and I wish we could have had a good result here for our sponsor. But you know, on the other hand, lucky to walk away.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Jan. We are still under yellow. There you see Michael Andretti and Mauricio Gugelmin. For the second year in a row, ESPN is proud to bring you baseball's divisional playoff series. It all starts. Now, Al Unser Jr. is pitting, and he has a fire. Unser getting out as the crew works at the back of the car. Once again, water comes from everywhere in the pit lane here at the California Speedway.
The reason that they use water is because if they spray a fire extinguisher powder in there, which is sometimes more effective, it's so hard for the crews to clean that up and get it out of all the little nooks and crannies. Water is still the best deterrent for a fire.
It's the second pit lane fire we've seen today. The first affected the crew of Arie Luyendyk.
And Bob, we can update that the fueler John Wayne Gate was eventually taken from the pit area down to the safety center for further examination. Did not appear to have any serious problems, but there was certainly a case of the extreme heat, according to the crew, helping build up pressure in fuel tanks that are very, very full. And the vent was filled. There was no place for the fuel to go. That's what resulted in that initial incident in the Luyendyk pit. Let's go to Jan.
The cause of the fire for Unser was a broken header. That is the exhaust system that leads to the turbocharger. And with these turbocharged cars, if it breaks, it puts extreme heat onto the bodywork. That was what was burning when he came onto pit road. He's done for the day.
And so with that, the entire Penske Racing team is done. Paul Tracy crashed earlier. Al Unser Jr. broken header leading to a fire. So Roger Penske will have to wait until at least 1998 to pick up his 100th win as a car owner. Now here's Robbie Gordon, who started the race in 13th place.
And they made an adjustment to the rear wing. Looks like they probably took something off of the rear wing, which means he's got a push in the car. He's getting too much drag and grip at the rear, and that'll make the front end not work the way he wants it to. Remember, in most 500-mile races, they're always tuning the car in these pit stops to try to make them very racy at the end.
Now, the cause of our yellow flag is that crash involving Arndt Meyer and Arie Luyendyk. Let's get more now with Gary.
Well, we were checking in with Chip Ganassi immediately after that contact, Bob, and the there was no radio contact whatsoever with Ganassi, and so he had not heard from his driver. He obviously was concerned. He jumped on his motorcycle and headed for the safety center. So the crew down here is continuing to wonder if there is what kind of news. So we can go to Jan Beekes.
Allenser Jr. takes a cool drink of water, a good thing after your car's been on fire. A broken header. How was your car up until that point?
Well, I was a little bit on the loose side, and we were coming in to make a change, drop the front wings a little bit, and try to get it back up there. We were being real careful out there, but you know, the Marlboro team's done a great job all season, and you know, we're definitely going to go back to Reading. We're going to do our homework, and I think next year is going to be a lot of bit different.
Now, your teammate Paul Tracy got in trouble in turn number 4, and now we've had another problem in turn 4. What's it about that corner that causes the problems?
Well, the direction of the wind right now is going from the I guess the west end of the track to the east, and the west end of the track is 3 and 4. When the wind hits the side of the car, it wants to turn the car more. Down in turn 1 and 2, we've got to push because the wind is hitting it from the left side and trying to push it straight. And so that's probably why, you know, my car was definitely a little bit looser down in 3 and 4 than it was in 1 and 2. So.
Okay, guys, at 240 miles an hour, wind can make all the difference.
All right, thank you, Jan. There is the remains of Arie Luyendyk's car, Jimmy Vasser's backup car this weekend. Alex Zanardi having destroyed both of his machines in crashes at this same part of the racetrack. Here's another look at what happened to Arie.
Arnmeyer spins down there in the left, and now he just comes back up, which is natural. There's nothing he can do about it. And look at that, almost head on, turns Arie sharp right, gets back a little bit left, and goes in there and crushes along the side of the wall.
We'll follow that story. Arie is on his way to the medical center. We'll be back with more from the California Speedway as the CART World Series 500 continues. Becoming a calamity speedway as we are under caution. Working lap number 50. We expect a green flag to get our race restarted in 1 lap. Down to Gary Gerould.
Problems for Gilles de Ferran in the last round of pit stops. He came in and the rear air jack did not work properly. They brought him back in again, sealed off the air supply. They are now going to have to, for the rest of the afternoon, manually elevate the rear of the car with one of these. They slide this bar in underneath the wing near the gearbox. They bend down, it'll pop the rear in the air. Then the man on the jack has to swing over, change that right rear tire. It means that the de Ferran stops are going to be much longer than usual for the rest of the day, and that is really bad news. Jan?
Gary, we had a chance to check in with the crew for Arnmeyer as to what may have happened down there in turn 3 and turn 4. They said that he was trying to run low on the racetrack to stay out of the way of faster cars, and he got too low down by the white line, the same problem that Patrick Carpentier had here on Friday. That's why he lost it. That's why the initial contact for Arnmeyer. Now, we've also been watching Scott Pruitt. He has been sliding back through the field. The crew says that he's not happy with the handling of the car, the overall grip. So they're going to raise the tire pressure for Scott Pruitt, hoping it'll be better for later on in the race.
Michael Andretti, the man in black, leads the way over pole sitter Mauricio Gugelmin, Jimmy Vasser, Michel Jourdain Jr., Mark Blundell, Andre Ribeiro, Brian Herta, Greg Moore, Raul Boesel, and Adrian Fernandez as we come back up on the revs and take the green flag to begin lap 52. And already position swapping begins. Ribeiro goes around Blundell for 5th.
And Michel Jourdain moved right around Jimmy Vasser at that restart. He's taking a look there at Big Mo. Look, he's up around the outside. That's Michel Jourdain right there in that green and red and yellow car. And the left car on your screen, the red, white, and blue, is Big Mo.
This is the battle for second place behind Michael Andretti. Jourdain having a remarkable second half of the season. Started the year in a Lola chassis. Had trouble with it, as most of the field has all year long. Then switched to a Reynard, and he has been marching up the qualifying charts. Started 5th today, his career best. He's having a great run.
He got a little high up in turns 3 and 4 that time. That's why you see he was dropped out the screen a little bit there. He had to back off. When he backed off, he was going to fall back into the clutches of Jimmy Vasser and Andre Ribeiro. See Jimmy Vasser making a move on him. You lose the momentum at 240 miles an hour. It takes you a couple laps to get it back.
Jourdain's best finish this year was a 12th on the natural terrain road course at Portland, Oregon. He finished 13th at Toronto and then again on the super speedway at Michigan.
Guys, when you're watching Andre Ribeiro on the last pit stop, they added front wings, so he should have more grip on the front tires now in traffic.
Well, Jan, what we're seeing right there is he was able to turn down, run a tighter line down low, and he's passing Michel Jourdain, or he's trying to, but Michel takes the proper line. And Andre Ribeiro, you see why he went up high? He lost that air when he got too close to Jourdain's car and moved up high, lost a little momentum.
Those wide shots give you the sense of speed as the cars flash into the picture. Here's the view from our Honda Helicam as Ribeiro closes up once again. Lou Blundell wants a piece of this fight as well. That's him with the bright day-glow orange nose on the blue and white Reynard. Michael Andretti's last lap, 230.176 miles an hour, but Jimmy Vasser is quicker still. Vasser maintaining that pace, 230, almost 231 miles per hour. Vasser's in third. Now Ribeiro under Jourdain. Moving into fourth.
See, Michel Jourdain's car moves up high there, and he lost another position right there to Mark Blundell in that bright blue and orange car. Smart move. His car obviously goes away a little bit in traffic. He'll report that in, lose a little ground, but stay smart, stay clean. And Greg Moore's now going to have a go at him and makes a good clean pass. Now, that's very frustrating for a driver, but we got to remember there's a lot of racing left here. Stay cool. There's just under 200 laps to go. A lot of racing.
Flying through the tri-oval. 14-degree banking at either end of the track. 3 degrees on the backstretch. Track is 75 feet wide. All weekend long, these drivers have been using every inch of it. The order is Andretti up front. Michael Andretti in that Ford-powered Swift, looking for Ford's 50th victory in a 500-mile race. Blundell and Moore running 4th, 5th, and 6th. The 6th race Michael has led this year, his first since the US 500. We'll be back. 2-mile California Speedway at over 300 feet per second. Ryan Herta, black and white car, leading a train. There is Mark Blundell. Chasing Andre Ribeiro, 4th and 5th. In the Kart World Series 500 with 62 laps complete. Michael Andretti remains out front. Jan Bikas has more from the pit lane.
Steve Olvey is the medical director for Kart. What are the conditions of both Leyendijk and Arnmeyer?
Well, Ari was momentarily unconscious at the scene, but he is now awake and talking. He's not complaining of anything. We're going to send him to the hospital for a CAT scan. He'll be there at least overnight, have some precautionary x-rays, but it looks like things are real good. Arndt has not been injured. He's sore around the neck and shoulders. He's getting some physical therapy in our medical unit. We expect to release him shortly.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Once again, the integrity of these cars structurally is absolutely amazing. These massive impacts, 88 Gs for Alex Zanardi. Yet the drivers race again. Good look there at Greg Moore. Running in 5th place. Mercedes power, the Reynard chassis. These engines are absolutely amazing. Built to such incredible tolerances that they don't even use gaskets to join things like the heads and the block. Let me check that. Greg Moore in 5th, Mark Blundell in 6th. Michael Andretti the leader, Mauricio Gugelmin 2nd, then Jimmy Vasser in 3rd. Andre Ribeiro 4th, Moore 5th, Blundell 6th. There is Michael Andretti on the lead. As we mentioned earlier, he ran very strongly on a very similar kind of racetrack at Michigan earlier this year in the US 500 before mechanical problems sidelined him.
Bob, we jump in with a word on Michael Andretti that's rather unusual. Maybe Danny can respond to it. We know it's extremely hot today. Michael had complained just a short time ago before this session of green started that it was extremely hot right underneath his bottom on the seat of the car. As you well know, that's an area where you can't dissipate any heat, and it's one of those things we believe to be a cumulative effect. Danny, how often does that happen? Is this something unusual?
Well, it's not that unusual if his car is bottoming, because that's where the rear skid plates are. At the back of the tub, which isn't that far from your bottom, and that pushes the heat back up through the tub. So if he's touching out there in certain spots, that can put the heat right where he doesn't want it. But let's not forget he's got about a 240-mile-an-hour breeze out there trying to cool him.
Let's check at the line. Andre Ribeiro has gotten around Jimmy Vasser for 3rd place. There's Ribeiro with that bright lime green nose on his LCI-sponsored Reynard with Honda power and Firestone tires. Ribeiro is one of the drivers. People are speculating about where he might wind up next year. Will he be back with Steve Horn's Tasman outfit? Here are the fast laps of the day thus far. Mark Blundell, 2:32 and change, followed by Gugelmin, his teammate, Andre Ribeiro, and Jimmy Vasser. On a blazing hot day here at the California Speedway, Michael Andretti leads. That's a look out the back of Jimmy Vasser's car, and Greg Moore chasing him in 5th place. Vasser coming off his first and thus far only victory of the year at our most recent race 2 weeks ago in Laguna Seca, California, avoiding becoming the first champion since Nigel Mansell not to win a race in the following season. Jan Bikas.
Raul Boesel is on pit road. He has an electrical misfire. They are changing some of the electronic boxes for the Ford power plant, as well as possibly the spark plugs. Yes, they're going that direction at the moment. So Raul Boesel is losing valuable time on pit road while they exchange components, but they're hoping that maybe they'll keep him running, because there often is a lot of attrition in a 500-mile race.
Raul Boesel, another one of those drivers who could be on the move next year, the most experienced driver out there not to have won a race. Greg Moore on the right, Jimmy Vasser on the left. There is Blundell in 6th place. A look back from Vasser to Moore, closing up in the slipstream. Ooh, can he pin him up behind Robbie Gordon? Moore takes Vasser for 4th.
I don't think he had to pin him. He had enough power going into turn 1. He drafted him very well. Look at Mark Blundell's about to do the same thing down the back straightaway.
Good smooth pass for Mark Blundell on Jimmy Vasser.
So one thing about a racetrack like this, when it's this wide and there's this kind of speeds, it's great for passing. It makes fabulous racing. And look at Jimmy, he's coming back. It looks like his car's not quite working as well as he'd like in the corner. Sorry, I had to back off there when he had a charge going. Lost a lot of ground to Blundell. When he backs off like that, he loses all momentum.
That's Robbie Gordon just ahead of the Hogan Racing Reynard.
And Brian Herter trying to make a run down the inside. See, he kept his momentum going and got it caught up to Jimmy.
order and the gap in time to the race leader at the upper left of your screen. Once again on board with Vassar, looking back at Herta. 4 consecutive races, Bryan Herta has led strongly, but he too is still looking for his first career win in the PPG Kart World Series. On board with Christian Fittipaldi. There's the running order. We'll be back with more in a moment.
Dell got a run on him, but Greg Moore went ahead and stretched it out when he got through 1 and 2.
Past the pit entrance in front of the huge crowd here in the grandstand. 70,000 grandstand seats at a state-of-the-art racetrack. An entertainment complex, really. Wonderful place to see a race. The first open-wheeled oval track race here in Southern California since 1980. Now on board with Gilles de Ferran. As he mentioned earlier, having problems with the jacking on his car. De Ferran currently shown in 10th. Look how close he gets to that wall. Looks easy from here, huh?
I'm telling you, it's not easy from sitting inside that car. You want to let that car just track and use all the road it can without much resistance.
To Jan Bikus.
Bryan Herta is on pit road, and you can hear there's no engine running. Another Ford power plant with a possible electrical problem, maybe more. They're going to take the back of the car off, and they are going to try and change some of the components, because he came by a couple of times here on the front straightaway with the engine running very roughly. But guys, they didn't seem to get to this as quickly as I would think. At first, a discussion with Bryan, so he is going to lose valuable time. Maybe they think it's more than just electrical.
At the California Speedway, Bobby Rahal, the most experienced driver in the series right now. Looking for his 3rd victory in a 500-mile race. Ran very strongly at Michigan before crashing when he got up on the high line, passing slower traffic and hit the wall. Rahal began the day in 10th. Currently runs 8th.
In regards to Bryan Herta, it appears as though it is the same problem that Raul Boesel had. They were able to repair Boesel's car, and he's back out on the track. They're in the process of doing Herta's.
The upper left, you see the speeds for lap 81. And look at Greg Moore, 232 miles an hour. 5 to 10 miles an hour faster than the 3 cars ahead of him. Now you ride with Scott Pruitt. Breathing the throttle. After our Laguna Seca race 2 weeks ago. Looking back now from Pruitt's car. Mauricio Gugelmin on the left.
There they are, side by side. The black car, Michael Andretti, the blue and red car, and white car of Big Mo. Look at this. All in traffic. Mo going high and Michael going down low.
Andre Ribeiro right in there as well. The top 3 cars. Now Ribeiro gets pinched slightly in traffic. Here comes Gugelmin. And Gugelmin
dropped back. Ribeiro took advantage of the traffic and slotted in front of him. There's Big Mo on the left of your screen, and just in front of him is Ribeiro.
Back on board with Scott Pruitt. Michael Andretti dives for the pit lane. Gary Gerould awaits him.
Everything to our knowledge has been routine. It looks like his teammate Christian Fittipaldi is planning to come in at the same time, but these are very spacious spits, 42 feet long. That's only topped by Gateway near St. Louis. Here's Andretti now on the mark. We'll see how the Newman Haas team fares for the race leader. Not anticipating any changes. Nothing up front with the wings. All the fuel. Got it rolling just under 13 seconds as he smokes the tires out of here.
Mauricio Mauricio Gugelmin enters the pit lane just as Michael Andretti leaves. Staying below that solid white line with all 4 wheels. That's Raul Boesel, who also got in and out. In fact, he got a very quick pit stop. I'm not sure that they got fuel and tires on that car. There's Gugelmin.
Gugelmin getting the routine service. Again, no apparent changes. These front runners liking the way the car handles. Almost stalls it, saves it. Now gets it going. Lost maybe a second and a half.
His teammate Mark Blundell in and out at the same time as the action picks up in the pits. Andre Ribeiro now shown as the race leader. Here comes Brian Herta back out. He spent a lot of time in the pits. Greg Moore now dives for his pit box.
And Bob, they were able to repair the electronics on Brian Herta's car, but they won't know for sure if it's fixed until he gets a flying lap. Our leader, Ribeiro, is not due for one more lap, so he's getting great fuel economy.
And the laps are going down at 30 to 31 seconds per. You can fall a long way behind with a long stop. Moore heats up the tires in the easiest possible way. There is the new race leader, Andre Ribeiro. Scott Pruitt makes his stop. Ribeiro down low and slow. He should be heading for the pit lane. Bobby Rahal pulls into his pit stall. Other than that, the pit lane relatively clear for those stopping right now.
Ribeiro is in, and they are expecting to make no changes on the car. They did make a front wing change on the first stop, but now Andre is very happy. They're waiting for the fuel. Now it's out of here. 12.48 seconds. A great stop for Andre Ribeiro.
All credit to the Tasman team. A good stop for him. Parker Johnstone comes in. Gilles de Ferran comes in as Andre Ribeiro heads back out. Race leader now is Jimmy Vasser as you watch Gilles de Ferran head for the pits.
And remember, he doesn't have a jack, so they're going to have to do this manually. There goes the jack right there.
His left rear tire man, Greg Stradeski, wearing a heart monitor. As you saw, seems to be pretty calm right now, but wait till he starts heaving those wheels and tires around. We did that earlier this year at Portland. That is hard work. Good pit stop for the Walker team. De Ferran heads back for battle. We'll take a break now that the pit stops are substantially done. Figure out the running order. Jimmy Vasser up front. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Is Tom Mahos from nearby Huntington Beach, California. Cameraman is Glenn Hampton. Regular sight above major sporting events, the Goodyear blimp. 90 laps complete at the CART World Series 500. The race leader is Andre Ribeiro. Michael Andretti runs second. Mauricio Gugelmin third. It's been a while since Andre Ribeiro has seen the lead for a substantial length of time. Down to the pit lane in Jan Bikas.
Brian Herta has climbed from his car. They changed all the electrics, but they didn't find the problem.
No, it's a tough way to end the season. Disappointment for sure, but you know, the engine just started losing power, and it wasn't really getting worse, but it was just really flat, and I could only run about, you know, 12,000 RPM. We should be a lot more than that. So, you know, rather than just be slow and getting everyone's way, this place is tough enough, and I don't want to cause a problem for somebody, you know, and then we don't want to blow this thing up, so we had to stop.
You say it's tough. What do you think of this place?
It's something else, you know. It's very challenging. It's tough in traffic. Beautiful facility. I mean, it's a great place to come, and it's a great event. I just think we need to be a little slower.
All right, sorry your season didn't end so well, but we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
So Brian Herta will have to wait until 1998 to collect his first victory. He did win a couple of poles this year. His best finish was a third place at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland. Brian Herta was one of the more outspoken drivers, commenting that the cars are going way too fast around this racetrack. On board now with Christian Fittipaldi, running in 10th place behind Gilles de Ferran. Been quite a year for Christian, breaking his leg in that absolutely awesome crash in the streets of Surfers Paradise, Australia, and collided, in fact, with Gilles de Ferran. Came back strong, had perhaps his best race of the year in his comeback race after months away from the sport. Portland, Oregon, qualified third and finished fourth. Best performance in both categories. Now, Jimmy Vasser's story. Here's Gary Gerould.
Bob, one of the things you always worry about on a very hot day is tire wear, tire conservation. For the first time today, we have seen on the right rear that came off Jimmy Vasser's car, very distinct blisters. Confirmed that with Tom Anderson, the team manager, and they said that that's why the car was going loose, and he was struggling the last 10 or 15 laps prior to that stop. First instance of it we've seen this afternoon in the extreme heat.
Well, of course, Gary, that doesn't mean that that's uniform for all Firestone runners. That could be the way that Jimmy Vasser has that car set up.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, they can tinker with air pressures and do other things to either lighten or increase the load on any of those corners. But we'll be keeping an eye on these next stops upcoming.
Gary, I'm just seeing somebody drive by on a cart with some Firestone tires from the Brahma pits, also with blisters. So it is not just the Target Ganassi team.
Flashing through the tri-oval area, Jimmy Vasser, who has held the #1, symbolic of the PPG Kart World Series champion throughout the season. He will give it up to his teammate Alex Zanardi. Zanardi not in this race after suffering what we understand to be a concussion with a couple of heavy crashes in Friday practice. Vasser carrying the colors for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. They have accomplished so much this year. Zanardi's championship. They were a part of Reynard winning the Car Builders honors. Of course, Jimmy Vasser in third place right now with fourth place Paul Tracy out of the race. Vasser's chances of staying in the top 3 in the championship looking very, very good right now. They have also assembled more than $46,000 in contributions to the Target House at St. Jude's Children's Hospital in Memphis. Leaning his head over just that little bit, countering heavy G's in the corner.
That was his hand went up and pulled a tear off his visor, flipped it out of the car. That's a little piece of plastic that they put on there over their visor, so if it gets oil or rubber or anything on there, they can tear it off. They'll put 3, 4, 5 of them on for the start of the race and hope it goes 500 miles.
To the pit lane and Jan Bikus.
Well, we thought that Raul Boisel was back up to speed after changing the electronics. Now, Brian Herta had a very similar problem. They changed all the parts, and he said he couldn't pull over 12,000 RPM. Was that also your problem?
I don't know, it's the same, but the character is the same. My car just start to lose revs and misfire, so there's no reason to keep running.
We're starting to see some Firestone tires, especially the rears, have some blisters. Was your car getting loose at all?
No, my car was pretty good, especially with the two first stint and second stint. I start to catch people and just keep a rhythm when the things start to misfire. So I think at the beginning we thought we have too much downforce in the car, but as the track gets slippery, I think we got right.
Where will we see you for 1998?
I really don't know. It's up in the air, so right now nobody knows what's going to happen.
Okay, thank you, Raul.
Michael Andretti pits from third place.
Bob, we understand it may be a problem of overheating. We'll watch the crew in action. I think they'll be trying to check the radiators. This is totally unexpected, and here he comes right now. The telemetry has told them that the temperatures were up. They'll routinely change tires, and they'll routinely top off with fuel. Then we'll see what transpires after that. Checking the radiator inlet, right back on his way. 15 seconds.
Well, Gary, you were talking about him being hot under his seat earlier in the deal. Of course, if you've got any leakage in the radiator, that's tend to where the water goes. So if he's got a leak or something, that could be what he's feeling.
Michael Andretti heads back into battle, crossing the dotted line and onto the backstretch he goes up through the rev range. We'll be back with more of the Kart World Series 500. The distinctive sound of a turbocharged IndyCar engine. Michael Andretti out of the pits, back on the racetrack. He's been adjusting his visor and strap since he came back out after a pit stop. That stop, an unexpected one to check on some high temperatures reported over the telemetry. This is the Swift chassis. Only he and Christian Fittipaldi using one this weekend. Richie Hearn was to have had one, but he crashed it on Friday.
But the only two engine problems we have seen so far are Ford-powered cars, and Michael Andretti's in a Ford-powered car.
Gary Gerould.
On the update on Michael Andretti, the crew tells us they did not find anything specifically, but there was a small trail of some type of fluid as he left the pits. Nothing major, but apparently because of the overheating, they may be having problems. And now I'm told he's coming back into the pits again.
Michael
Andretti
Andretti
is not a good sign.
Dives for the pit lane. Up comes the visor. Definite problems for the Homestead winner.
That chugging along that you hear, he's got his finger on the button so he doesn't exceed 60 miles an hour.
No great rush to the pits.
Shuts it off, takes the steering wheel off.
They're going to disconnect. Looks like it's all over.
He knows what the problem is, and he knows it's terminal.
Tough break for the winningest driver in the series right now with 36 victories. Shaking his head is Michael Andretti.
And just like at Michigan, he knew he had a great handling car, and he was poised for a good result.
8th DNF of 1997 for Michael Andretti. Ride with Gilles de Ferran. Ferran shown in 8th place. Bobby Rahal just ahead of him. Ferran second in the championship. And no matter what happens in today's race, he has that locked up. Michael Andretti is out and Gary is with him.
Well, Michael, was it overheating? And tell us what you know.
Yeah, it was starting to overheat, and they worried about it blowing up and putting me in the wall, so we brought it in before it would break.
We had heard a radio conversation earlier that it was hot underneath your backside. Do you think that's all related?
I don't know. It's possible. I don't know. I don't know.
You had a race car once again, just like Michigan, that looked like was capable of winning.
No, there's no question about it. I was playing very conservative, and I was backing off in the two corners and just trying to bring it home. And well.
Racetrack conditions today in the extreme heat. Can you give us an idea of how it was while you were there?
Unbelievably good. I couldn't believe it. The grip was as good as it's been all weekend.
All right, plans next year? You're all set with the Newman Haas team again?
Yep, we'll be back and you know, hopefully not have these problems.
Thanks, Michael.
Well, next year there may be more teams running that Swift chassis. They'll get a lot more development information. Good battle going on now between Bobby Rahal on the left, Gilles de Ferran on the right. Rahal, the only active driver to have raced at the old Ontario Motor Speedway, the oval, a couple of exits up the highway here in Southern California. That was on the 9th of May in 1976. He drove in a Formula Atlantic race, sharing the front row with the late Gilles Villeneuve. Ride with Gilles de Ferran. Rahal just ahead. Bobby's got pretty good luck in inaugural races. This, of course, the inaugural CART World Series 500 here at the California Speedway. He has won 5 times in first-time events. 1982 at Cleveland, 1985, the Old Marlboro Challenge, 1986 in Toronto, and 1992 at both Detroit and New Hampshire. At the line, Ribeiro with the fastest lap time. Greg Moore in the pits and out. Moore pitted from 3rd place. This on lap 112. Off of the acceleration lane out of the pits and onto the backstretch here at the California Speedway goes Greg Moore. The race leader is Andre Ribeiro. Mauricio Gugelmin shown second. Then Mark Blundell, Gugelmin's teammate. Boy, the Pac West team is laying down a real 1-2 punch here at the inaugural CART World Series 500. Both Gugelmin and Blundell running very, very well. Now there's Bobby Rahal, Gilles de Ferran, and race leader Andre Ribeiro, who has lapped up to the 7th place car. Gary Gerould in the pit lane.
And the blanket goes over another Firestone rear tire. A clear case of blistering. Jerry Forsythe said, get back there. You need to take a look at those tires. We got a good look just before the blanket went down. And yes, indeed, major blistering. This was an unscheduled stop. Jan?
And Gary, in regards to those tires, Firestone brought the exact same tires they ran at Michigan. Goodyear brought a harder compound because they were afraid of the blistering. Andre Ribeiro, who's also on Firestone tires, tires. Right now has an understeer or a push. He says it is slowing him somewhat, but the team says they'll give him more wing on his next pit stop.
Only 26 laps on that fresh set of tires for Greg Moore, so we may have a story developing here on the tire front. Ribeiro out in front. We'll be back in just a moment. Back at the California Speedway, Mauricio Gugelmin pits from second place. This on lap 117. His teammate Mark Blundell once again pits with him. You don't often see teammates pit together like that, but the Pac West team seems to do it all the time.
Well, you have a very large pit here, so you've got plenty of room. But remember, if they're running the same pace, they're going to run out of fuel at about the same time.
Now we're following the Firestone tire story. Greg Moore just went through a set, blistering in just 26 laps. Let's see if we can learn more with Jan Bikus.
Well, Al Spire is in charge of the Firestone program. Why the blisters?
Well, it's just really hot out here today, and it was about as hot when we came here and tested, you know, ambient around 100 degrees, track temperatures up around 140. But we've seen some blistering on the tires in our testing. We've seen some here today. We're trying to work with the teams to make some pressure adjustments. We think we can work through it, and we think we'll be okay.
Now, if the center of the tire is blistering, then you would let air out of the tire. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct. You let a little bit of air down. Obviously, you don't run too low. But basically, it's really hot today. It's hard on everything, all the equipment, engines, drivers, and tires. But we think with pressure adjustments, we can work around it.
Okay, they're communicating up and down pit road. I've seen them on the radio, so hopefully all the teams will get the message.
All right, thank you, Jan. Max Pappas in the blue car leads Mauricio Gugelmin and Greg Moore. Running 7th and 8th, Gugelmin and Moore. Pappas shown in 15th place.
I don't know about you, but that was very close to about 230 plus miles an hour. They went in there wheel to wheel. Greg Moore hung in on the outside, but Big Mo had the line.
Gary Gerould has more on the Pac West team as a yellow flag comes out.
And apparently it's a debris situation, Bob. The yellow was mistimed as far as Pac West is concerned. Blundell came in a bit early, as did Gugelmin. For Gugelmin, it was a case of a cut tire that brought him in just a little bit early. And we're waiting to see if we get any further definition. Apparently is a debris. Jan?
Well, in regards to pit stops, we talked about the fact that with a 60-mile-per-hour speed limit, people would take advantage of the yellow flag. Andre Ribeiro, our leader, will pit as soon as the pits are open. They're currently closed.
The Lexus safety car is out on the track to pick up that man, Andre Ribeiro, the leader. Incidentally, driving the pace car today, Tricia Hessinger of the PPG pace car team. After 11 years, she is retiring from pace car duties. We wish her a lot of luck in the future. Meanwhile, Andre Ribeiro having his best run in a long, long time. A former winner in the series. Down in the pit area, the gentleman in the suit is Greg Penske, son of Roger Penske. He is the boss here at the California Speedway. And on the left, Cindy Crawford, who I'm sure needs no introduction whatsoever.
No, but over there to the right of Greg is Cindy Crawford's boyfriend.
Oh, well.
Just
nice
for
to see her here anyway.
Anybody at home that's wondering about that, her boyfriend owns some clubs here in Los Angeles and in New York.
The pits are now open. 4 cars on the lead lap. Ribeiro, Fernandez, Adrian Fernandez having a good run. Jimmy Vasser and Gilles de Ferran. Bobby Rahal shown in 5th. Christian Fittipaldi up to 6th. Mauricio Gugelmin 7th and Greg Moore 8th after their recent stops. Michel Desjardins Jr. 9th. Mark Blundell is 10th, followed by Scott Pruitt. P.J. Jones up into 12th place. A good run for Dan Gurney's remaining car in the field. And the highest running Toyota car out there right now. Parker Johnstone is 13th. Robbie Gordon 14th. Max Pappas 15th, followed by Walter Salas and Richie Hearn.
Bob, Andre Ribeiro is here on pit road, and we're going to wait to see if they do put front wing into this car. Let's see how much half turn one full turn of front wing for Andre Ribeiro. Now it's full of fuel. Wow, 12.69 seconds for Ribeiro.
More action in the pit lane. Looks like Jimmy Vasser coming along. There's Adrian Fernandez in the pits. He is Ribeiro's teammate. Still using the Lola chassis. The Lola firm, which has been in severe financial difficulties since an abortive effort to field a Formula One team has been bought by Irish racer and track owner Martin Birain, who owns the Mondello Park circuit in Ireland. He now owns Lola Cars. It'll be renamed Lola Cars International. They will try to get back into PPG Kart World Series racing. They may have to form their own team to do it. Jimmy Vasser in and out, looking for his second consecutive victory. What a way to wind up a season it would be. 17th and final stop on the PPG Kart World Series for 1997. We're in California. We'll be right back. You ride with Scott Pruitt. Now, it's been 2 weeks since our race out in Laguna Seca, but on that weekend, there was a special event. Championship Auto Racing Auxiliary hosted a motorcycle ride. Typically, the day after a race, all is quiet and everyone is packed up and ready to move on. But after our Laguna Seca event a couple of weeks ago, many drivers, old and new, as well as celebrities and other friends of kart, stuck around Monterey to participate in the first annual Carrot Charity Ride sponsored by Honda. Dan Gurney, one of the motorcycle fans on hand, IndyCar legend Parnelli Jones, and Jimmy Vasser served as hosts for the event. 143 participants in all, and 57 motorcycles made the trek. Kenny Sullivan, as you saw, was on that motorcycle ride. And I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be there next year. Down to Jan Beekes.
Well, Adrian Fernandez made a pit stop, and he's been doing very well with the Lola chassis that has some aerodynamic improvements. But look here, these are the blisters. This is the tire that came off Fernandez's car, the rear tire. You can see that it gets overheated in the center of the tire, and then the rubber actually comes off. You can see the cords below. So they're going to try and lower the air pressure so it's not as crowned, hopefully to try and cure that problem. Gary?
Well, we've just received word up here in the Vasser end of the pits as they are taping over the blisters that came off his last set. This is the second time for Vasser. Now, they have elected to switch to the harder compound, the primary, as opposed to the option that they'd qualified on. And in fact, we are being told now that all of the Honda teams that run Firestone tires are going or have already gone to the primary, the harder, more durable compound for the rest of this race.
Gary, I'm not quite sure why they're taping them over.
I think that they just don't want prying eyes to see it. I mean, that's the simple deduction that I've gotten down here, because anytime they see us in the camera, usually there's a blanket that comes in, and they're trying to protect the tire manufacturer. Obviously, they don't know that we've already talked to Al Spire and heard from him, so I think they're just trying to cover it up as best they can.
Well, you should tell them that and save them some tape.
Here's our race recap. 122 laps in the book. Andre Ribeiro leads. Green flag race average 225 miles an hour. But keep in mind, many of the early laps were run under caution after a series of incidents. Those out of the race are Leyendijk, Art Meyer, Paul Tracy, Juan Fangio, who brought out the first yellow with a fire. Andre Ribeiro leads off turn 4 into the tri-oval area with his teammate Adrian Fernandez just behind. A Tasman 1-2 as we go green. And look at the traffic behind. The orders: Ribeiro, Fernandez, Gilles de Ferran, Jimmy Vasser, Mauricio Gugelmin, Greg Moore, Mark Blundell, Bobby Rahal, Christian Fittipaldi, and Michel Jourdain Jr. You ride with Jimmy Vasser. Squeezing on the throttle. Honda power behind Vasser. Here comes Gilles de Ferran trying to take back a position from Vasser. Vasser got
a that was close. I'm sorry, that was close. Jimmy Vasser went to move down, and Gilles de Ferran stuck his nose right in there. That was close racing at 230 miles an hour.
Don't try this at home, kids. Bobby Rahal making a move.
For me, the most incredible part, you're watching this, it looks like you're kind of driving on the freeway, except these guys are doing 230, 240 miles an hour.
Well, when they get out of the car after a session and you see that 2,000-yard stare in the face of a driver, you know this is not going to get groceries. This is not for position, by the way. Scott Pruitt, just ahead of Bobby Rahal, runs in 11th place. Look out the back of Pruitt's car as Rahal begins to inch forward once again. Rahal has company down low. Robbie Gordon going by. Gordon currently shown in 13th place. Lap speeds from lap 127. Ribeiro out front and pulling away.
It's got to be a strange feeling for Robbie Gordon, having driven all season long in a 3,500-pound Winston Cup car, and to get into one of these little, 1,500-pound rocket ships.
This is something of a home race for Robbie Gordon. Raised in Orange, California, the LA area. Made his name as an off-road racer. Now he is back in the kart series. Andre Ribeiro out front. A Lola in the hands of Adrian Fernandez in second. That is a story. We'll be back. Ball field in less than a second. Close to 230 miles an hour. Andre Ribeiro leads the Kart World Series 500. Bob Varsha, Danny Sullivan, Gary Gerald, and Jan Bikus with you for the final stop of the 17-race PPG Kart World Series for 1997.
That car in the left of your screen, that green, white, and red car, just went out of sight there, is Fernandez, Adrian Fernandez, right there on your screen. And second in a Lola, which hasn't shown well all season long.
Let's get more on Fernandez's situation with Gary.
Well, we've talked about the problems that Lola has had all year, Bob, and it's interesting. I found out just before the race that the folks in the wind tunnel back in England had really been working in the 3 off weeks since Laguna. They came up with a brand new underwing that was shipped. It was damaged in transit by one of the airlines. They made repairs to it, and the crew was almost elated this morning. It said it's the first real major fix that we've had all year. We love it, and it's the last race for this team with the Lola chassis, but he said it has made a world of difference, and obviously it's paying off big time. So some real encouragement from the Lola camp at long last.
Well, it's the old good news, bad news thing. Good news, we got some of the problems sorted out. Bad news, there are no more races to run this year after this one.
And you saw that side shot there when he passed Fernandez. That was Gilles de Ferran. When he passed him there, it looked like Adrian's car got a little sideways. He had to correct a little bit. But you know what? He's got to be a happy man right now, because at least he's competitive and he's running at the front.
Gilles de Ferran opening up on Adrian Fernandez. De Ferran now in second place behind Andre Ribeiro. Lola needs a great result. Teams that have used the cars this year say they won't use them next year, which is why we say Lola may need a team of their own. They're going to get back into IndyCar racing. Ribeiro and De Ferran up front. We'll be back. Miles an hour or so here at the California Speedway, looking out the back of Scott Pruitt's car in 11th place here in the Kart World Series 500. Adrian Fernandez to the left of your screen runs in 3rd place. Jimmy Vasser in red is 4th. There is Pruitt with Robbie Gordon just behind him. And that is for position. They are 12th and 13th. There's the view from our Honda Helicam. Crowd in that grandstand, and thousands more down on the infield. Perhaps 100,000 people here on a blazing hot day, but it is cloudless. Mountains shining through behind the racetrack. Andre Ribeiro with the yellow nose leads. Gilles de Ferran right there in blue and white is second. Down to Jan Bikus.
Arn Meyer has just been released from the medical center. First of all, you okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
I saw some ice on your hands. You have some bruises?
Oh, it's just to be sure that I haven't tomorrow some headache or something like this.
Now, the crew thought maybe you got a little too low in turn number 3 and 4 because of other traffic. Is that what happened?
No, I wasn't on the white line. I know that the white line is a dangerous line, and I only know it was slightly oversteer, and I wanted to try to stay down, but then I see Ari Leindijk coming straight to me, and then I can do nothing.
Did you talk to Ari in the hospital?
I didn't talk to him, but I saw him, and I think he's fine.
Okay, well, that's good news for him and for you. You have a Lola chassis. Did you have the new parts that Fernandez has? He's running second.
No, I have nothing.
Well, that's too bad, but I'm glad you're okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, Bob, one of the things I'd like to point out, we've been talking about this tire situation, the blistering, everybody trying to do, to fix their tires with tire pressure, everybody. Let's look that Gilles de Ferran is now in second position. He looks like he's closing a little bit on Ribeiro, and he is on Goodyear tires.
Jimmy Vasser just goes underneath Adrian Fernandez to take away third place. Now on board with DeFerrin. Goodyear tires on the four corners. Honda Power, Reynard chassis. We've been watching DeFerrin on the onboard camera on and off throughout the weekend. The car seems to handle really well. Greg Moore jumps around Adrian Fernandez, and Robbie Gordon goes lower still. Moore comes away with fourth place. Fernandez now back to fifth.
How about that? 3 abreast going in there at probably 235 to 238 miles an hour.
Bobby Rahal on the move, looking under Mark Blundell. Adrian Fernandez, look at his speed at the bottom of that box. 217 miles an hour. He is losing all kinds of speed.
We have to be careful when we judge that speed, though, because that can be that they had that lap in traffic, although he looks like he's dropping back.
Definitely. He is definitely off the pace.
And he is in Firestone tires, so maybe he's got a blistering problem. Hope they don't try to tape his tires up.
I used to do that in college. You can get an extra 100 miles or so out of a set. Mark Blundell goes around Adrian Fernandez for fifth place. As you watch Fernandez, not able to keep the speed up at this point. His teammate is out front by 2.3 seconds over Gilles DeFerrin. That gap has been increasing and decreasing by a couple of tenths with each lap. Adrian Fernandez soldiers on. He too has his head heeled over just a little to the left to fight the G-forces. There is the running order as they stand at this moment. We'll be back to California after this. Now for you NASCAR fans who had hoped to watch the Haynes 500 from Martinsville this morning, it was rained out. They will run it tomorrow morning, Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You will see the Haynes 500 Winston Cup race from Martinsville here on ESPN. Here at the California Speedway on a brilliant Chamber of Commerce kind of day, Adrian Fernandez has slid back to sixth place, but that man with the bright yellow nose, his teammate Andre Ribeiro, is leading this race as we are early in the second half. Now, could Fernandez's problem be tire related? Gary Gerould.
Well, we're going to check in with Al Spire once again. We had word from the Honda people that they were encouraging their teams to go to the primary, the harder Firestone compound. But you're saying you don't want them to do that?
No, our experience right now says that staying with our option tire is the best thing to do. Since it's so hot out here, we're building up more right rear tire pressure than we did in practice or qualifying. We need to lower that pressure a little bit to take the stress off the center of the tire. We've made that adjustments already with a couple of our cars. They're running fine, and we think we'll be okay.
Okay, thank you. That's Al Spire with the update. Jan?
Well, Gary, contrary to that, Adrian Fernandez, the crew says he now has another blister on the tire, and they had lowered the pressure. So they did what Firestone recommended, but it did not do its job. Right now, he's trying just to stay out there, hoping maybe they can catch a yellow flag, but if it goes much longer, he'll have to come onto pit road.
There is Andre Ribeiro, only the second race he has led this year. The other 500-mile race, the US 500 at Michigan. His best finish this year was a third on the streets of Toronto, Canada. 3 career victories, all of them oval track wins at Loudon, New Hampshire, Rio de Janeiro, and the '96 Michigan 500. In fact, Ribeiro has led every 500-mile race since he led the 1995 Michigan 500. And that is 5 straight 500-mile distance runs. He is very good on the long ovals. There's Greg Moore in fourth place, trying to run down Jimmy Vasser in third. There's Vasser. "27 cars started the race, 18 still in the running. Past the halfway point, Ribeiro leads in laps led. Keep in mind there's a bonus championship point for leading the most laps in a race. And every position in the championship except for first and second is still up for grabs. Andre Ribeiro 14th in points, 16 points behind Bobby Rahal in 13th place, so he needs every point he can get. Plenty of side-by-side running here today. We didn't expect to see a whole lot of that here at Michigan. Number one, because of the high speeds. Two, because the racing line needed to be developed around this track. Man, we have seen them wheel to wheel with lots of passing all afternoon to this point. We'll take a break and return. Honda's up front, Ribeiro and de Veren, Vassar in third. There you see 7th through 12th. Stay with us. Greg Moore and Mark Blundell. You can catch all the action of the 1997 PPG Kart World Series campaign. Championship run by Alex Zanardi and more. Catch the 1997 Kart Rear View Mirror Show Sunday, October 12th, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific on ESPN. Adrian Fernandez is in, and look at that tire, Jan Bikus.
Yes, that tells the story. First, he got the first round of blisters, tried to stay out on the racetrack, and you can see then he got the second row. Oh, he has a little problem, and he kills it. Well, sometimes when things start going bad, they go really bad. The starter is ready. It'll take just a few moments. Sometimes towards the end of a 500-mile race, the clutches don't work like they did in the beginning. Now he's out of here with some fresh tires.
Big time blisters there. Greg Moore, Gary Gerould.
We're watching as the tires come off, and on the right rear we see a couple of small telltale spots, but nothing like we've seen before. This is running a little longer than usual. Now he lights it up.
Only 29 laps for Adrian Fernandez on that last set of tires. Greg Moore goes back out with fresh ones. Laps remaining.
And Bob, for Greg Moore, Jerry Forsyth quickly over to take a look at that right rear, and they were smaller blisters than we've seen before, but there are in fact blisters. So apparently they're tinkering with those air pressures. They're getting closer to resolving the problem, but a lot of teams still having difficulty.
View from overhead. Mauricio Gugelmin running in 7th place right now. Look up the backstretch. Let's take a look at our fuel windows. Blundell clearly into his. Green line is the laps completed. The yellow patches are laps run under caution. Each man's situation is different depending on when he pitted previously. So Ribeiro, de Veren, Vassar, and Blundell, the top 4 cars. The top 3 approaching their windows. Blundell thoroughly into his. He can't go a lot farther without a stop. Word from the pit lane is Mark Blundell will be in shortly.
He's slowing down coming off of turn 4 to come into the pits. He's in the pit lane right now.
There is Blundell. See his head bobbing as he hits the speed limiter, the rev limiter that keeps him below the 60-mile-an-hour speed limit in the pits. Gary Gerould awaits him. We'll keep an eye on those tires.
Well, we're watching. We're at the back of the car. Both of the rears come off cleanly. One of them comes over the wall right at my feet. It looks good to my untrained eye.
Where's Gary? That'll be the left rear. That will get the work that the right rear will.
Right rear is the concern. That's still out on the wall. In 13 seconds, he's gone, and we're looking, and we see, yeah, small. Again, very much, and maybe even smaller than what we saw in Greg Moore a moment ago. So it's better, but there's still a problem.
39 laps on that set for Mark Blundell as he comes back out. A set of scuffed tires. Back onto the backstretch. 5-6 pit stops in a 500-mile race. Well, more on this occasion. We've seen a lot of early pit action, and everybody's schedules have had to be recalculated after lots of yellow flag laps to begin the day. On board with Jimmy Vassar, looking to make it 2 in a row at the end of the 97 season. Right now, he runs in 3rd. During symbols, the Goodyear Blimp Eagle, based in Carson, California, has been giving us our aerial pictures. 1997 marks the 72nd consecutive year that a Goodyear blimp has flown over a major sporting event. In other words, is to have Goodyear blimp here. Andre Ribeiro leads Gilles de Ferran, Jimmy Vassar, Bobby Rahal, Christian Fittipaldi, and Mauricio Gugelmin, our pole sitter for today's Kart World Series 500. Piling up the laps. By far the leader in laps led thus far in this race, That puts him in line for a championship bonus point as he tries to catch Bobby Rahal for 13th in the season standings. Goes around Hiro Matsushita. Check that. That was Dennis Vitolo having one of his better runs on a super speedway. Currently shown in 18th place. Laps remaining of this 2-mile oval, tri-oval actually. Let's check Andre Ribeiro's telemetry. Speeds slowing slightly in the corners, then climbing. Lateral G-forces actually pushing to the driver's right. Christian Fittipaldi at 60 miles an hour, the pit lane speed limit. Gary Gerould is there.
We watch him roll in, glides right in perfectly to the spot. We're anticipating that they'll make a slight wing change. We believe they'll go up about a half turn on the front. That, of course, would happen after they change the tires. There's the turn on each side. He's on Goodyears. 12.5 seconds. Christian Fittipaldi with a good top 5 run today is back out there.
Bob, let me tell you something. When you've been running around 230, 240 miles an hour and you come down a pit lane at 60 miles an hour, you figure you can get out and walk faster than that car is going.
Just reach out and slow the car with the sole of your shoe. Race leader Andre Ribeiro in. Gilles de Ferran takes over the point.
And Bob, we're watching from the back of the car, and you can see there's a few small blisters on the right rear, but nothing like we've seen on some of the other cars. That could be the key to winning this. A little bit longer, 14.2 seconds, but remember, all the stops get longer when there's less fuel in the tank in the pits.
Jan, for everybody at home, the reason why is those fuel tanks are not pressurized, they're gravity fed. So as there's less fuel in there, of course, there's less weight to force that fuel out.
Jimmy Vasser pits from 2nd place, and notice he was in that last pit stall. He can go straight on out. Gilles de Ferran now pits from the race lead. This on lap 164. 13.9 second stop for Jimmy Vasser.
Bob, I think we're going to be able to watch from the rear. The manual jack goes into place. The crew member lifts the rear end. Now he swings over and goes to work on the right rear.
But Gary, one guy puts the jack down, another guy's going to release the jack.
Yep, and they've done just that. He got the fuel. Just under 15 seconds. Pretty smooth work by the Walker team.
Isn't that amazing that those guys, they lose their jacks, their air jacks. They have to go to a manual jack, and they've got the pattern down and the routine down, just exactly what they're going to do. That's why these guys are so well prepared.
Gilles de Ferran heads back into the battle. Ribeiro, Vasser, all up there in the front as well. We'll be back to California. Speedway, Bobby Rahal working the gear shift lever. He could have a pit stop coming up. He's down low in turns 3 and 4. Check that. He's coming out off of a pit stop is Rahal. The career leader in starts in this series. Bobby Rahal announced this weekend he is going to form a 1-car PPG Firestone Indy Lights team for next year. His driver, young Mike Borkowski, runs in the SCCA Trans Am series right now. In fact, this weekend, Borkowski ended Tommy Kendall's streak of consecutive victories in the Trans Am at 11 by winning Pikes Peak International in Colorado Springs. He will drive for Bobby Rahal in the Indy Lights series next year. Goes by Richie Hearn. Rahal currently shown in 7th place. Hearn in 17th. Middle of your screen in the blue, orange, and white cars, Mark Blundell shown in 5th place. Greg Moore on the right is 6th. They too go past Hearn. Working with the Lola after crashing the Swift chassis that his car owner John Della Pena got from the Newman Haas team for this race. Those numbers, 228, 229 miles an hour for 3 hours. 166 laps now complete. Average speed under green flag conditions thus far. 226 miles an hour. Now, the record average speed for a 500-mile race is 189 miles an hour or so, set by Al Unser Jr. a couple of years back at Michigan.
But of course, that was the total race time. We gave you the green race average because we had those early yellows. That'll drop the average quite substantially.
Do a little numbers crunching, see if we come up with a full race average. You watch Rahal and White, then Blundell and Moore now running closer together than ever. Beautiful view of the racetrack. This track built on the site of a former Kaiser Industries steel mill. Originally, the mill was built to make steel for Liberty ship production in World War II. Now it is a showplace of speed. Average speed start to this point in the race, 153.605 miles an hour. And once again, it tells you something about how much time we spent under caution in the early laps.
Mark Blundell going high on Bobby Rahal right there. That was the blue and orange car of Mark going around the outside.
That's not for position, however. Blundell putting a lap on Rahal.
And Greg Moore in the light blue right behind Bobby's white nose there with his red top.
Moore is running in 5th place behind Mark Blundell, so he's going to want to get by Bobby Rahal as soon as he can to try to close up on Blundell. 170 laps complete. We'll be back with more from the California Speedway. There is P.J. Jones driving for Dan Gurney's All-American Racers, the Toyota-powered Reynard with the eagle on the nose. His teammate Juan Fangio did not complete a lap in this race before he had a fire in the engine compartment that brought out our first caution flag of the day. PJ, however, has been running really strongly, currently shown in 11th position, by far his best run of the year. PJ's best finish in the 16 previous races this year, a 14th. He did it twice, once on the mile at Milwaukee and once at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. He started 21st. He's up to 11th. There's the other Toyota-powered car in the race at this juncture. Max Pappas, the Archie Arrow Wells racing car. Up comes Gilles de Ferran. It's like Pappas may be thinking pit stop. Mauricio Gugelmin is in. Parker Johnstone heading out. Gugelmin pits from 3rd. You see the intervals behind the leader. Ribeiro with more than 5 seconds on Gilles de Ferran in 2nd place. 75-foot wide backstretch. Plenty of room to exit the pit lane, come up to speed without impeding faster traffic coming up from behind. But nobody has been faster than Mauricio Gugelmin around this tri-oval the past 3 days. His practice speeds reached 242.3 miles per hour. That yesterday morning came out and qualified at 240 miles an hour. First man to qualify at that speed in history. Let's learn more on Big Mo's situation now with Gary Gerould.
Bob, on that last stop, the right rear came off with very tiny, what I would characterize as tiny blisters on the right rear. Got a quick word with Andy Brown and said, "Are you making progress?" He said, "Yeah, by changing air pressures and by making chassis changes, the car is getting better." And it appears that the tire wear is balancing out and getting better as well.
So it appears the challenge of blistering has been met by the Firestone cars. Parker Johnstone, currently shown in 15th, is about to make a pit stop or a drive-through for exceeding the pit lane speed limit. First of those we've seen today. Stay with us. We'll be right back. It was full of events Right now, he runs in 4th place behind Andre Ribeiro, Gilles de Ferran, and Jimmy Vasser. Driving for Bruce McCaw and the Pac West team, Motorola sponsorship on a Reynard with Mercedes power and Firestone tires. This is his teammate Mauricio Gugelmin, the pole sitter for today's race. Gugelmin currently in 6th place after a pit stop. Let's give you the interval from Andre Ribeiro. There's Andre Ribeiro with the yellow nose on his car. Now we'll give you a shot of the gap back to the 2nd place car of Gilles de Ferran. Comes de Ferran. Mark Blundell, meanwhile, last lap at 231 miles per hour. Fastest car on the track right now. Ferran 2nd on the racetrack, 2nd in the championship. Now let's check up on today's story. Speed, our fastest lap run thus far, Greg Moore, 236 miles an hour. Keep in mind that qualifying speed record coming into this weekend was just a little bit faster than that. The heat, 101 degrees, and that is the air temperature. The track, the pavement alone, up around 140. We heard Firestone's Al Spire tell us earlier. That brand new track has yielded lots of side-by-side racing, plenty of passing. And in the points battle right now, Jimmy Vasser trying to hang on to 3rd place. Looks like he might have a shot at doing that because the 4th place man in the points, Paul Tracy, crashed out of the race. As I mentioned, this man, Mauricio Gugelmin, will hold on to 2nd in the championship no matter what behind Alex Zanardi.
Bob, one of the reasons why you're seeing some of the speeds come up at the later part of the race is that they run in 6th gear for most of the race to make sure they can make 500 miles. Then if they need the speed, they can downshift to 5th, turn a couple hundred more RPM, and then bring the speed up if they're trying to play catch-up.
Thanks, John. Let me correct myself. I'm talking about Gilles de Ferran right there being 2nd in the points. There you see how the battle for 1st has ebbed and waned. De Ferran is closing in on Ribeiro, who had a nearly 6-second lead on him not too many laps ago. Car just ahead in white is young Brazilian rookie Walter Salles, spending his 27th birthday here at the California Speedway. They have been a little short on horsepower, not because they're using bad engines, but they just didn't have enough of them. The team in some financial difficulties. He got no laps at all on Friday, came out Saturday to qualify. Has run very, very few laps on the track. He was hoping to overtake the absent Patrick Carpentier for the Rookie of the Year championship. It appears he will not do that.
Bob, that's one of the things we have to be careful of in 500 miles racing. You seesaw back and forth so much with your speed. Sometimes you're running strong, then you're in the middle of your run, your car will start pushing a little bit. You'll get in traffic, you'll lose a lot of ground. Then you'll find when the fuel load goes light, you're faster than everybody on the track, and it's the reverse. You really just got to keep playing with it through all this time and then make adjustments in your pit stop. And as we see, these guys are all fairly close together, and they want to be all very competitive and race to that checkered flag.
Great view of Andre Ribeiro from our Honda Helicam. Mark on the outside, Blundell up high over Jimmy Vasser, looking for 3rd place, and he takes it easily. Let's get more on our race leader with Jan.
Well, we talked about the different gears that the guys use. We checked with the Tasman team. Our leader, Andre Ribeiro, is currently in 6th gear. Now, they wouldn't say that if they feel pressure from Gilles de Ferran if they would go to 5th, but most teams use that option if they need it.
I'd just like to explain something, Jan, there for you. Run 2 top gears. They're very close together, about 250 RPM.
Ribeiro on the point. We'll be back in just a moment. Stand by for more from the Cal. The NASCAR Featherlight Modified Tour visits Stafford Springs, Connecticut. You can see it Wednesday night, October 1st at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on ESPN2. Greg Moore heads for the pit lane. Gary Gerould awaits him.
And Bob, it'll be interesting to see what those right rears look like this time. They have been making progress, it seems like, from the big blisters we saw earlier, much smaller last time by. Now the crew anticipates it. He comes in a little hot, has to lock the brake momentarily, no major problem. Oh yeah, big blisters are back. Big blisters on the right rear side. A double strip of them right in the middle. Watching the rest of the service. Waiting for all of that fuel. He's gone again.
A 37-lap run for Greg Moore on his last set of Firestones. 61 laps remain. He'll have another pit stop to go.
But obviously that's the mount that they want to run, so those blisters weren't bothering him that much. He lost a little bit of ground, but it wasn't terrible.
Adrian Fernandez getting service. More Firestone tires going on there in the Tasman pits. Car lurches a little bit as he engages first gear.
And Bob, this time there is no blisters on the right rear. There's blisters on the right front. So what they did was they made a chassis change, and now, of course, that made them lose front grip, so now they're blistering the front end. So it's not just the rear tires that could be a problem for Fernandez.
Jimmy Vasser heads for the pit lane. That scoring pylon you see in the background is a new addition here to the California Speedway since the Winston Cup cars were here early in the summer. Vasser pitting from 4th place. This is on lap 190. 59 laps remaining. 10.8 seconds.
And they make it look so ho-hum. Those mechanics didn't even look like they were hardly working. It was like, yeah, I'm changing the tire. No big deal.
Mark Blundell pits from 3rd. Gary Gerould.
Pac West team in action. And we see one telltale strip on the right rear. Here's another set of blistered tires. It's an optional set that's going on, just as Firestone Director of Competition Al Spire wanted. They keep tinkering with those pressures, but they haven't cured it here in the Pac West camp yet.
Mark Blundell heads back out. The sun continues to beat down. Not a cloud in the sky here in the San Bernardino Valley. Pace continues to be furious after a spate of early caution flags. We have had lots of green flag running. We haven't seen any whiff of a problem from any of the Goodyear tired cars yet. Gilles de Ferran runs in 2nd place to Andre Ribeiro. Jan Binkas.
Andre Ribeiro is not able to talk to the pits right now, but he can hear them. So they just radioed to Andre, said, if your car is okay, wave when you go by. Well, he's doing 240 miles an hour down the front straightaway. The crew's not exactly sure if he's waving or not, but that's how they're communicating. Gary?
I think we need to update the Goodyear tire situation. We've seen the problems here with the Firestone guys that they're working with in the right rear. Talked with Steve Orlando a short time ago for Goodyear, and he said, no, we've been good. They deliberately, as John reported early in the race, made the tire a little more durable, a little tougher than what they ran on the Michigan 500. And right now, Gilles de Ferran, Christian Fittipaldi, Bobby Rahal are their key guys on Goodyear's, and they're not reporting any problems.
The amazing thing for me, Bob, is all this, we keep talking, they're all coming in with blistered tires, the Firestone runners, but there's only a couple of Goodyear runners in the top end. We've got Gilles de Ferran in 2nd, Bobby Rahal in 4th, and Christian Fittipaldi in 6th. The rest are Firestone runners.
The race leader, Andre Ribeiro, right there, has 33 laps on his current set of tires. He has a pit stop coming as well. Stay with us. Pick up some of this huge crowd that is gathered for the final event of the PPG Kart World Series season. Kart World Series 500. Roger Penske, who built this racetrack, very proud of the fact he was able to get a train stop back there to help crowds get out here. Look at that grandstand. 70,000 seats, all sold out well in advance of this race. The parking lots all paved. They are all free to ticket holders, with trams to take you right to the gates of the facility. Twice the size of Chavez Ravine downtown, where the LA Dodgers play. And nearly 180 acres of this facility sodded to put down this beautiful layer of green grass in preparation for racing. Absolutely amazing facility.
And that was Maurizio Gugelmin that just passed Gilles de Ferran
for 2nd place. Ribeiro continues to lead. Gugelmin into 2nd place. De Ferran 3rd. Bobby Rahal shown 4th. Mark Blundell 5th, Jimmy Vasser 6th. They've just completed recent pit stops. Ribeiro and Rahal both have their 5th stop coming up.
Big Mo right there on your screen. Right behind him is Jules de Ferran. Obviously, when they go out on those fresh Firestones, they're not worried about saving them a lot because he's standing on the gas.
I'll correct myself. Jules de Ferran remains in 2nd place. Mauricio Gugelmin made a pit stop, so he had gone a lap down. Behind Jimmy Vasser in 6th, the order is Greg Moore in 7th, Christian Fittipaldi 8th, Scott Pruitt 9th. Hank Pruitt now 8th. He's gotten around Christian Fittipaldi for that spot. Adrian Fernandez is 10th, followed by Robbie Gordon, P.J. Jones, Max Pappas, Parker Johnstone, Michel Jourdain Jr., Walter Salas, and Richie Hearn. The 18th and final car still running, Dennis Vitolo. There is Big Mo. Traffic ahead. Well, all credit to Bruce McCaw. They have really turned the Pac West team around. The first team and one of only 2 teams this year to produce wins with both of their drivers. From Brazil, lots of Formula One experience. More than 4 years of experience in the PPG Kart World Series. He has found a home with the Pac West team. A couple of key pit stops still to come, including our race leader Andre Ribeiro and 4th place man Bobby Rahal. We'll be back with more from the California Speedway. Stay with us. Andre Ribeiro had a pit stop in his future. Did he wait too long? He is going very slowly. Entering turn 3.
He needs to get down underneath that white line there. Look at him wiggling the car. He's wiggling the car, trying to slosh the fuel around in the tank so it'll pick up. His engine will be dead coming into the pits. Luckily, he's in one of the early pits, so he doesn't have very far to go down this pit lane. But he's losing a tremendous amount of ground here.
Oh, what a dramatic twist for the Brazilian driver who has picked up all 3 of his previous career victories on oval tracks. He has dominated this race. Now let's check the lap before it happened.
Remember, guys, he does not have radio communication back to the crew, so he could not tell them what was happening. They had to listen to the PA system to say he was in trouble. Obviously, the car is not running. They have the starter motor in place. They're trying to fire it. It is full of fuel. 17 seconds and counting. He's losing all kinds of times. Underway in 21.1.
Yes, but Jan, the place he really lost the ground was trying to get into the pits. And when you've lost your radio like that, you can't take a chance on running it out of fuel. You've got to stop and be conservative and stop a lap early. He was dominating the race. You just threw away all that advantage and then some.
With 46 laps remaining, he had a huge window. He could have come in at any time and still made it easily to the finish.
And he was going to have to stop again. He was not going to go 46 laps on a tank of fuel.
Exactly. Gilles de Ferran now in from the race lead. This on lap 204. There is the jack, the manual jack that they've had to use, and it hasn't cost them much. Let's see how it works this time.
Boy, they've been terrific thus far today, Bob. They have been extremely poised under tough conditions. This man's been on the podium 7 times this year. They're making wing changes up at the front. As we look from the rear of the car, they have taken a full turn out, it appears. Now he rolls about 15 and a half on my clock.
Keep adjusting that car. Keep adjusting that car all day long. Make it a better race car at the finish, because if you get in a shootout with somebody else, you want that thing working good in all conditions.
Hey, Danny, according to the Tasman team, they felt as though they could make it to the end of the race if they were able to do 1 more lap. So the reason Andre Ribeiro did stay out was because the crew was trying to stretch it as far as possible. They think that it is possible. Sounds improbable to me. They think they might be able to go the rest of the way.
Jan, I don't disagree with the philosophy, but why take the chance if you don't need to? He had a comfortable lead. Why take the chance?
Well, I'm not sure why to take the chance, except for maybe they were feeling some heat from a Goodyear tired car of Gilles de Ferran. I'm looking over his tires, that is Andre Ribeiro, and they now have no blistering, so at least they've cured that problem.
But Jan, again, that would be my question. If you're worried about blistering, you're going to have to make a stop. Why push it to have blisters and go a longer run? But you know what? It's easy for us to sit up here in the booth and judge. And Steve Horn is a great team owner, and he's been there, and he's been in the wars, and he makes those calls, and I wouldn't want to second guess him.
There is your new race leader, Mauricio Gugelmin. We have a long off season coming up to talk about all of this. There you see Gugelmin into his fuel window so he can make his stop within the next couple of laps. Mark Blundell in second, Jimmy Vasser in third. Plenty of time before they will make their final stops. Mauricio Gugelmin on the race lead after a dramatic miscalculation by the dominant car of the race thus far, driven by Andre Ribeiro. Ribeiro now shown in 6th place after running out of fuel and limping to his pits before rejoining the fray. Mauricio Gugelmin last pitted on lap 174. We are now working lap number 209. As the PacWest team tries to work their magic once again. It's hard to overstate how important this last race of the year is. Oh, Andre Ribeiro is parked up against the wall.
And it doesn't appear that I see a wing on the rear of that car. No, it's been knocked down.
Not quite against the wall, but he has obviously hit one.
And this is going to be a big shot in the arm for PacWest.
They can now make their pit stop under the yellow. It's on the back side. The kart safety team spraying some extinguisher in there. Oh, what a terrible, terrible break for Andre Ribeiro. Well, his reaction tells you exactly how he feels.
I am down with the crew, and they reminded me that he had no radio, so they do not have any information from Andre Ribeiro, but we'll check on the telemetry to see if that gives us any indication.
Here's our 5th full course caution. Let's see if we can see what happened to Andre Ribeiro.
Oh, he was way up high. I see him way up high in the gray, and I think he just went up there and touched the wall, and it spun him across on the grass. He's going, please stop. Whoa, pretty good size hit right there. But luckily out of harm's way. He was way up in this area up here at the top. See him way up in the gray, way up at the top of your screen.
Oh, he almost had it saved.
Dirt, tried to turn it back down. Boy, he was lucky. He came right across the track in front of that car.
Meanwhile, we are under yellow. Race leader Mauricio Gugelmin heads for the pits, and Gary Gerould is there.
Yeah, this yellow is really fortuitous for Big Mo. He comes in now, and the crew immediately springs into action. A whirlwind of cars going by as the pit's been open. All the front runners that are at this end looking for service. Tires look pretty good from what we see on this time. There goes Gugelmin, and as we eyeball the tire out there on the wall, for the first time we may be seeing a little tiny bit of a blister on a front tire. So they keep tinkering with the chassis, and yeah, we got a little tiny one on the front.
Gilles de Ferran beat Mauricio Gugelmin back out of the pits.
Well, you know what this is setting up for? Everybody's adjusting their car. They're all going to have a full tank of fuel. They're all going out. We don't have that many laps left, and they are going to have a nice shootout for the end of this 500-miler.
39 laps remain, and they will be done at top speed as Andre Ribeiro's car goes on the hook. His race is over. We'll be back in a moment. We are under yellow. Gilles de Ferran is the race leader. It's an end-of-term race weekend, and some of the drivers had an opportunity to relax outside of their cars. Let's take a closer look. Made Brian Herta an offer, but he didn't take it. Such is life. The race order as we prepare to go green in one lap: Gilles de Ferran, Mauricio Gugelmin, Mark Blundell, Jimmy Vasser, Greg Moore, Bobby Rahal. There you see our field summary.
Well, let's also not forget that the Gilles de Ferran's up front on Goodyears. The other guys are on Firestone. I don't think they're as worried about those blisters as everybody else seems to be. I know they go away at the end of the run, but they are not going to be concerned about it at the beginning.
You see the cars out of the race. Michel Jourdain's great run ended a few laps ago. He parked it in the pit lane. Tough break for him as well. But perhaps not as tough as the one suffered by Andre Ribeiro, who led a ton of laps, made a pit stop after running out of fuel, got back out on the track, got up under the gray area, almost had the car saved, and wound up tagging the wall on the inside. Had a pretty good lick. So the green flag is in the hands of kart flagman Jim Swintal. We expect to get underway, and there will be 35 laps remaining when we restart. The first 5 cars in the running order are nose to tail on this restart. This could be a very interesting turn 1. Gilles de Ferran will dictate the pace. Mauricio Gugelmin makes a bit of a run. Mark Blundell in third, coming up to speed. Jimmy Vasser is going to start from a little further back. The man with his hand on the trigger is Gilles de Ferran as they come down to the line. Gugelmin immediately attacks. It looks like Mauricio Gugelmin timed it perfectly and rockets past into the lead. Vasser goes around Blundell for third place. And here comes Greg Moore on the charge to get Mark Blundell. Great restart by Mauricio Gugelmin to take the lead.
Well, Big Mo has been fastest all weekend in about every practice session. He's been right up on that leaderboard all day. I'm sure he doesn't want his teammate to have 2 wins and him only have 1.
Jan Bikus.
Well, think of the incentive for Mauricio Gugelmin. If he can win from the pole, $115,000 additional prize money for the Marlboro Pole Award, which has rolled over many, many times. So money makes a difference, certainly. Right now, he's just thinking about speed.
And if he doesn't get it, Jan, it's carried over to the season opener next March at Homestead, Florida. That's going to be a huge bonus for somebody to collect.
Mauricio Gugelmin will also continue to climb the championship standings, and that could mean another big chunk of change to him at the awards banquet coming up October 25th here in the Los Angeles area. Look at the lead Mauricio Gugelmin has opened up on Gilles de Ferran. Jimmy Vasser third, Greg Moore fourth, Mark Blundell fifth, Bobby Rahal sixth, then Adrian Fernandez, Christian Fittipaldi, Scott Pruitt, and Robbie Gordon in 10th. A long hot day, but there are no empty seats in that grandstand as we come down to the final shootout in the final race of the PPG Kart World Series season. We'll take a break and return. The crowd coming to its feet for the last 30 laps. This should be great stuff. Sir, his last trip in the #1 car in the PPG Kart World Series. That title goes to his teammate Alex Zanardi, who was not in this race, the Kart World Series 500. Up front, Mauricio Gugelmin. This battle right there is Vasser and Moore as our top 5 cars run nose to tail with 31 laps to go.
Big Mo stretching out just a little bit. He's got a little bit of a cushion, but the rest of the guys are battling right in there.
Side by side, here comes Greg Moore down low and takes the spot. That's third, dropping Vasser to fourth. Mark Blundell just behind Vasser. So Greg Moore is on a charge. Bobby Rahal in sixth, about 8 seconds behind this nose-to-tail battle among the top 5. Look at those numbers. Gugelmin, Ferran, Moore, Vasser, Blundell. Jan Bikus got you up to speed on the amount of bonus money available for a win from the pole. No one has done it since Alex Zanardi turned the trick at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland. And if nobody wins wins it here, it will roll over to the opening event of next season at the Metro-Dade Motorsports Complex in Homestead, Florida. Look at those speeds. Mauricio Gugelmin, at least 2.5 miles an hour faster than the 4 men chasing him. You ride with Bobby Rahal. Rahal in 6th.
Bob, you may have mentioned the fact that for Mauricio Gugelmin, much of this weekend, not only has he been consistently the fastest man, but he spent a lot of time trying to stay clear of traffic so that he can have big numbers in terms of speed while running by himself. Clearly, that's the case right now. And he's looking real good as we start moving toward the final miles here at Fontana.
On board with Christian Fittipaldi.
Guys, in regards to Bobby Rahal, the crew says he's very happy with the car. They are still in 6th gear, and they can go quicker if they have to. They think they can chase down some more guys.
Well, he better not wait too long, because those guys aren't waiting for him, and he's about a half a lap behind, and there's not that many laps left.
26 laps remaining in the 1997 season. Mauricio Gugelmin. All of his pole positions and his lone win in the series have come this year. Can he pick up another one here today? What a season it would make it for the Brazilian. Now makes his home in Florida. He has opened up a lead of 3.3 seconds over second place man Gilles de Ferran. Here comes the battle for second.
Greg Moore just blew by him. He had a great run off of 3 and 4 and just, he didn't wait even for a draft there. He tucked in and was gone.
So Moore continues to roll. Started 6th. Now here's Jimmy Vasser closing up on Gilles de Ferran. Gugelmin still clearly the fastest car on the track. And Vasser passes de Ferran easily.
As Mark Blundell's taking a look.
There is Gugelmin, the leader. Here comes Moore in 2nd. Vasser 3rd. De Ferran about to be taken for 4th by Mark Blundell. De Ferran just not able to hold the speed of these closing laps.
Is that the Firestone tire working better at this stage?
Well, if it is, congratulations to the team of Firestone engineers who got that blistering problem worked out. The Firestones have always done better in hot temperatures. We've certainly seen those today. We thought they might be too hot for a while, but they appear to have gotten things worked out. Firestone cars up front. Gugelmin, Moore, Vasser, Blundell, and de Ferran in 5th, and Rahal in 6th on Goodyear's. We'll be back to the California Speedway as the laps run down. California Speedway from high overhead, courtesy of the Goodyear blimp. The Blimp Eagle, based in nearby Carson, California, has been giving us our aerial pictures all day. The 72nd year for Goodyear blimps flying above major sporting events. Hard to believe, 72 years. On the racetrack, to be quite honest, Goodyear's tires are having a less exemplary afternoon. There is Mauricio Gugelmin. Competitors from Firestone are on the cars running 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. The gap has come down a little bit. Mauricio Gugelmin to the 2nd place car of Greg Moore.
And Bob, as we move toward these final laps, just checking with Derek Walker for Gilles de Ferran, who I believe is in 5th place now. Car has gone just a little bit loose, and so that's what they're having to chase. I don't know if that's something on just this last particular set of tires or not, but they did make a front wing change, remember, on that last stop. Maybe it's not working the way they hoped.
There is Greg Moore. Firestone looking to complete a sweep of the 500-mile races this year. Alex Zanardi won the US 500 at Michigan. Right now, Mauricio Gugelmin right there. The Red, white, and blue car with the yellow helmet. Under fire now from Greg Moore, who comes rushing up from behind.
Big Mo looked like he got slowed in traffic, and Greg Moore wanted to go back, couldn't do it, but look at him now.
Right up.
He just smoked him. Look at this. He's just pulling away. I'm not so sure Big Mo doesn't have a problem. He is down low there.
It's Richie
and
Hearns.
He stays down low. Big Mo is coming into the pits.
Mauricio Gugelmin at top speed. Now he hits the limiter and slows to 60 miles an hour. Heading for his pits. Problems for another race leader. Greg Moore sweeps into the lead. And soon you'll be able to count the laps remaining on the fingers of both hands. Mark Blundell.
Well, more problems for Gugelmin. They've stalled the engine as he tried to get away after getting the service complete. They're still waiting to get it fired. Oh, this is huge.
Gary, do we know why he stopped?
No, it just came on the run, Danny. I don't know what the problem was. It was unexpected. I'll try to find out.
Gugelmin running. Heads back out on the track. But he has lost all kinds of time. Greg Moore leads Jimmy Vasser, Mark Blundell, Gilles de Ferran, and Bobby Rahal.
And it was another blistered right rear, pronounced big, deep blisters. That was the problem. The handling was just totally going away for Gugelmin.
Well, that then raises the question, Gary, are the Firestone runners, as this run goes on, all going to have the same problem at the pace they're running?
That's a very good question, one that obviously we can't answer. That was still an option tire that was on that set for Gugelmin, so that was according to the wishes of Al Spire that they continue to work. Looked like they were getting the problem solved, but clearly not in this set.
Once again, the speeds. Moore now the quickest car on the track as Vasser closes up on Max Papis and sweeps by. 15 laps remaining, down to Jan Bikus.
Andre Rivero has been released from the medical center. You had an absolutely perfect day going, and then you ran out of fuel, first of all. What happened there?
First, we lost completely our communications. It's very difficult to see the board, so we were late for the pits. And after that, the car had a huge push on turn 2, and I was able to avoid the wall, but coming back to the track, I lost the rear, and the car spun on the grass.
Were you putting a little bit of push into the car so that you would not get rear blisters like we're having a lot of people on Firestone tires having?
No, our car was completely under control. We had a fantastic car. It's a good credit for my mechanics, my engineer. We had a very tough time this weekend. We did only 17 laps before this race, and it's amazing the car we had, but unfortunately our season was like this, and for sure next year will be different.
How long was the radio out?
It was probably from lap 150.
All right, well, that's a shame, but boy, you had a great run going. Good job.
Thanks.
There is Jimmy Vasser. His lead over Mark Blundell for second place has been shrinking. Greg Moore is the race leader, then Vasser second, Blundell third. There they are. Blundell continues to close up on Vasser. Golden arrows tell you Greg Moore is the quickest man out there right now. Word from the officials is Christian Fittipaldi will receive a black flag. So he will have to report to his pits. Reportedly, there is fluid coming out the back of that car, so Fittipaldi will have to head for the pits.
And Bob, we just had a report. Oh, yeah, Moore just blew up. The crew can't believe it.
We saw the blue smoke in the turn. Greg Moore. There's Neil Mickelwright looking on. I can imagine they cannot believe it. And now there are flames from the back of the car as Greg Moore had it in his hands with 11 laps remaining, and it all went away. And now Mark Blundell has gotten around Jimmy Vasser, so Blundell becomes the race leader, looking for his third win of the year. But Vasser is right there looking for his second. 10 laps to go. Christian Fittipaldi has reached his pit. They're looking over the car, but the battle, the day, the race, and for these drivers, their season is right here and right now. Blundell and Vassar.
For what's been happening to the leaders, I'm not sure I want to lead right now. I'd rather lead about the last 10 yards because they've been jinxed, every one of them.
Just before Moore's engine let go, we had word that Christian Fittipaldi's temperatures were up just slightly. It might have been a case of a little fluid they were spotting coming off that car.
Fittipaldi's been sent back out. But now with 9 laps remaining, Mark Blundell has a shot at his 3rd victory. Now, if anything further happens to our race leaders, Bobby Rahal runs in 3rd, 12 seconds behind. So right now he's in position for a podium. That would be a great way to end his season. Gilles de Ferran runs 4th. Adrian Fernandez 5th. By far the best performance by a Lola chassis this year. 8 laps remaining in 1997. Let's check the speeds. Blundell much faster than Vassar in 2nd. We are still working traffic. There is the Englishman Mark Blundell, former test driver for the McLaren Mercedes team. Took over the ride when Nigel Mansell left the team after a few races. Did a terrific job taking the car to 10th in the World Championship. Came over to America to seek his fortunes in the PPG Kart World Series. Had plenty of frustrations, not the least of which was leading with 2 corners to go on Belle Isle in the Detroit River earlier this year before his gamble on fuel mileage went bad. But then he came on and won the closest 3-way finish in history in the wet at Portland, and then won again in Toronto. Gary Gerould.
Greg Moore, did you think you had won a 500-mile race?
I knew we had a good shot at it. I mean, you know, my guys and the players team were working so hard at making sure that we had a good race car, and you know, I got kind of nervous when I blistered my first tire there in the rear. But
how much did that unsettle the car, those blistered rear tires?
I think it probably scared me more than anything the first time, and then after that, it was just a matter of just, you know, slowing down a little bit. And I think we had this one again, but another motor failure is just too bad.
We'll see you in March at Homestead.
Thanks.
There is Mark Blundell. He'll have 4 to go next time by the start-finish line. And once again, the Pac West team has a car in the lead. Bobby Rahal has made a splash-and-go stop. Now all the crews can do is watch and wait. Mark Blundell recently moved his family, wife and their 2 sons, to the Phoenix, Arizona area. Putting down roots in America. Now looking for his 3rd victory of the year. There is the green race average, 223 miles per hour. The overall race average, just over 165 miles per hour. 3 laps to go for Mark Blundell. And there is Jimmy Vassar, still holding on in 2nd place. What a run he has had recently. 2nd at Vancouver, a winner at Laguna, and now 2nd here in the Kart World Series 500 in Fontana. Blundell lapping slower traffic. Vassar still right there. Into turn 3. White flag for race leader Mark Blundell, 2 miles from his 3rd career victory and his 3rd of the season. Vassar still in 2nd, now less than a second behind, but I don't think there's enough time remaining. Into turns 3 and 4. What a story this Pac West team has been this year. And now the thousands of man hours and all the travel and all of the tribulation are worth it. Victory for Mark Blundell, his third of the year, the inaugural winner of the CART World Series 500 at the California Speedway. His first win on an oval, his first at the 500-mile distance, the fourth win for the Pac West team this year, and the team's first on an oval. He also brings victory to the Reynard chassis, Mercedes-Benz engine, and Firestone tires. 13th win of the year for Firestone, and they worked for it today. We'll take a break and return to the California Speedway as the off-season begins here in Fontana. Stay with us. California Speedway, where the off-season of 1997 has now officially begun. Mark Blundell picks up his third career victory in the 17th and final race of the PPG CART World Series season, the CART World Series 500. He's standing by in victory lane with Gary Gerould.
Mark Blundell, a storybook year, has come to a dramatic conclusion. But the thing I'm wondering about, Jimmy Vasser unhappy about the fact that there was no yellow when Greg Moore blew the motor. Were you surprised by that?
Not really, because, you know, to be honest, Greg went very high up into the gray. He blew the engine. I was on the radio immediately when the flames came out, and it didn't really drop any oil as such. It just blew its ends and like flames come out, and Greg took it up high and took it out of the way. The race was still going. I checked, there was no yellows confirmed on the radio, and we were gone.
Did you have any problems today, because we saw so many of the guys with Firestone blisters on the right rear, unsettling the handling characteristics of your car?
We had a few problems, but you know, I think, as you say, it was just one of those situations. The track was very hot today, but overall the tires are still great, still consistent, and they got us to the checker flag. That's what counts.
What does it feel like to be a 500-mile winner for the first time in your career?
It feels fantastic. You know, we did road course, street course, now we've done a super speedway. You know, and with the Pac West Motorola car, we're really looking forward to 98.
And the inaugural one at that. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations indeed. Final results, Mark Blundell over Jimmy Vasser. A great run for Adrian Fernandez, driving a Lola to third place. His best previous performance this year was an 8th. Mauricio Gugelmin finished behind him. Bobby Rahal made a late splash for fuel. Great run for Robbie Gordon in a one-off in the last race of the year. He hasn't run a 500-miler in these cars in quite a while. All in all, 15 lead changes between 8 drivers. The final margin of victory, just 0.8 of a second, and 2 cars on the lead lap at the end. Those two, of course, Mark Blundell and Jimmy Vasser. Now, you heard Gary mention earlier that Jimmy Vasser was not entirely satisfied with the end of the race. Let's see if we can learn more about that now. Here's Jan Bikas.
Jimmy Vasser, 500 miles. Boy, I know that you are whipped. Did you really think he had a shot there at the end?
Well, when Moore blew his engine, for sure, you know, we always go yellow on something like that. You don't know if there's oil or whatever, so I got out of it, just like everybody else did. And thinking it was going to go yellow, he looked like he was going to crash. Blown engine. I feel that the officials took this one from me. I had no problem with Blundell when he was behind me, and I'm very disappointed, although I'm happy for Mark. He did a good job, but I think they made a huge mistake that cost me the win.
What was the mistake?
Well, Moore blew an engine and it's flame and smoke and high, getting ready to crash, and they don't go yellow. Do they know there's no fluid up there?
Okay, obviously a yellow flag would make a big difference. They chose not to. Obviously,
they go
Jimmy.
Yellow for little debris, but they didn't go yellow for a huge blow up that time. I don't understand.
All right, well, why don't you take it up with Wally? Thanks.
So much frustration for Adrian Fernandez this year, dealing with a chassis that didn't want to respond. But I understand you got a new underwing from the Lola folks that made all the difference in the world.
It did. The car was more stable under traffic, and everything was much better. I'm so pleased. You know, it was a hard year, but this is the best prize that we can ever get. It's been very hard, and I'm glad for all my team, Firestone, Honda. They gave us a great combination, and for last, the Lola worked for the last race.
Tell us about the conditions today, because so many teams were having tire problems along the course of the way.
I have some blister, but not as much maybe as other guys, and we managed to recover at the end, made a great pit stop, and we managed to keep it there. It was very hard, very hot.
They're taking this man to the podium. Enjoy it.
Great run for Adrian Fernandez. It's time to start wrapping things up. Here are the manufacturers' standings. Mercedes-Benz had clinched the manufacturers' championship coming in. Once again, their first open-wheel title since 1955. The Formula One World Championship with the great maestro Juan Manuel Fangio. Honda second, Ford Cosworth third. We'll be back to meet the 1997 PPG CART World Series champion Alex Zanardi in just a moment. PBG Kart World Series, Alex Zanardi, the champion, Gilles Defert in second, Jimmy Vasser succeeds in holding on to third place. Mauricio Gugelmin finishes fourth, Paul Tracy fifth, and there you see the rest of the top 12. Now let's meet our champion. He's standing by with Jan Bikas. This is Alex Zanardi.
Alex Zanardi is also down here in victory circle. I know you wanted to drive. You've got to be happy for Jimmy, but what's it like being on the sidelines? That was a great race to watch.
Terrible. I never sweat so hard in my whole life, and I was obviously rooting for both Jimmy and Ari. Number 4 Target Chip Ganassi Racing car was pretty unlucky this weekend, and I'm glad that Ari is okay. I know he's been better than that, but he's okay. And Jimmy had a tremendous run. He's a great driver, and I was just telling him that the number 1 sticker is going to be very proud to be sitting on his car, but he had some bad luck, and it's a shame.
Let's talk about that number 1 sticker. That is now officially yours. You won it in Laguna, but the season is over. You're the champ. What does it feel like?
It feels good, but it's not 98 yet. It's great, and this year has been great for the old Target Chip Ganassi Racing, in particular for me. I had a lot of success. I enjoyed a lot of beautiful moments with my mechanics. They're great friends, and we did a lot of goods together. And you know, having a teammate like Jimmy Vasser, it made everything much nicer and much more enjoyable. So I'm looking forward to have another good season like that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Alex Zanardi is not only the champion, he is last year's Rookie of the Year. That title goes this year to Patrick Carpentier, who was not here to race, but he wins the title. Gary Gerould is with Bobby Rahal.
Bobby Rahal, you end up a top 5 player in a 500-mile race. You've experienced an awful lot of these. I know it was awful hot today. Were the conditions tougher than maybe normal?
To be honest, I didn't think they were that bad. You know, I think you kind of get up to a temperature in the car, no matter how hot it is or cold outside, you kind of stay at it. But the pace was hard. There was not many yellows, and you know, struggled with the car to get the setup on each fuel run. And
that last stop there, you had to come in to get topped off with fuel. I guess that's the one that may have hurt you the most, but I guess there's nothing you can do about that situation.
We got lapped early on, and we just couldn't get it back. Got back on the last lap, on the same lap, but I had to, you know, we were 5 laps from going the whole way. You know, we got past Defert and almost caught Gugelmin, but just ran out of time.
Top Goodyear finisher, Bobby Rahal.
All right, thank you, Gary. The schedule for the 98 season has been released. Here it is in all of its glory. We'll have 2 new venues next year. We will travel to Montegi in Japan to a spectacular new oval track. And the 3rd race from the end of the year will be a brand new temporary circuit in Houston, Texas. 19 races in all, a great season on offer. And once again, it will end here in Fontana, California. It's been a great run, Danny. Your thoughts on Jimmy Vasser's situation? He's not happy.
Well, Jimmy's not happy. He lifted, and Mark Blundell didn't. Mark Blundell won. All in all, I think it was a great season. We had some fabulous first-time winners, great racing, and with Adrian Fernandez's win, maybe a lot of people are going to consider that Lola chassis for 1998.
A great 3 for Adrian Fernandez today. Coming up next here on ESPN Sports, for Danny Sullivan, Jan Bikas, and Gary Gerould. Thanks for being with us all along the way this year. We'll leave you with a tribute to our champion, Alex Zanardi. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.